Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Newton Town Council Hybrid Budget Meeting, Monday, March 2nd, 2026. Please rise and join me in a pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Mr. Coos?
Here.
Mrs. Diglio?
Here.
Mrs. LaFois?
Here.
Mrs. Teets?
Here.
Mayor Dixon?
Here. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this meeting was given to the two newspapers of record and posted on the town website and official bulletin board. First up, we are going to have town manager and CMFO review of the budget.
Thanks, Mayor. So I want to thank all the staff for their hard work going back to October 1st to put this document together. 5-6 month process to do all this work. So thank you to everyone for their hard work. So we'll start on page 1. I'll go 1 through 10, and then Tom Ferry is going to jump in on page 11 for the cap calculation. All right, so page 1 is just our guiding principles, which is cost effectiveness, core services, and revenue enhancement. Slide 2, appropriations. The total budget as it stands now is presented as $17,080,346. 2/3 of that obviously is staff. We have 156 employees, which includes 69 full-time, 87 part-time seasonal intern. On page 3, we start the Scott pages. Scott goes into detail about the reserve for uncollected taxes, the NBT. And on page 4, he gives you the 5-year historical NBT. So our NBT is at $1,148,585,100, increase of 39.4 million over last year. And our current ratio is 100%. And on page 5, he goes into detail about the tax appeals, how many are open per year, total assessed valuation, and the tax dollars at risk. And I'll make sure Scott keeps you all apprised of any updates as they come in. I'll have him update that for us. On page 6, we have a breakdown on health insurance. As you know, we're all part of the North Jersey Municipal Employee Benefits Fund. Our increase for health insurance this year was 16%. The state health benefits towns were 36%. Right now, they're estimated to go up 50% next year. So being in HIF definitely helped mitigate the increases, but we're not immune to the challenges of the marketplace, even though we're part of, a joint insurance fund to keep costs down. So I'll keep you apprised of any changes or improvements at the HIF level, but health insurance is unforgiving right now for every town. Our increase is approximately 16% over last year compared to 36% for the state health benefits towns. Revenues in support of the budget on page 7, state aid flat. You see local fines, fees, interest, fund balance. We're currently looking to utilize 2.3 million, which would be almost in line with our fund balance policy. Tom can speak to that. Pretty close, but not exact. Delinquent taxes, the amount that we're looking to go out to the taxpayer on is 11,324,246. Shared service agreements, grants, obviously is just a snapshot in time. We get grants throughout the year that will chapter 159 into the budget, and then an item, special items of revenue coming to the 17,080,346. So if we look at last year's level for the average assessed house, 338,127, the average went up about 20,000 to 358,663, and the taxes are estimated to go up on the municipal portion for the average assessed home from 3,149 to 3,536, which is an increase of approximately $1 a day. Obviously, we'll get more into that as we go through the presentation. And just a quick snapshot on water sewer before we do that later. The proposed budget is $6,200,450. We have 2,784. Obviously, we want water and sewer to be self-sustaining and self-liquidating, so we don't have to use the current fund backstop against the water sewer utility. So page 8 is just a summary of the aforementioned. If the council has any cuts, we can discuss them tonight. Any changes? Obviously, this is not a great budget as far as the increase goes, but it's pretty lean. There's not much meat on the bone. So if we start cutting, I'd have to start looking at furloughs or laying off staff, cutting programs and services. It's a tough budget this year, but as tough as the budget is for us, there are towns that will be in catastrophic circumstances this year, mainly because of the health insurance and other things that are out of their control. So obviously, we'll talk more about that. Obviously, town officials on page 9, 10 is your org chart. So before we get into the nitty gritty, I'll ask Tom Ferry, starting on page 11, just talk about the caps and the appropriations cap, the levy cap, which is really our first stop on the monopoly board when we put the budget together. Do not pass go if we don't meet those two standards. So I'll let Tom speak to that, and then I'll give you the sheet for the next step.
All right, so in 1977, the state of New Jersey put in an appropriations cap to slow down spending. So it's based upon the consumer price index. So you can see the calculation starts off with the last year's appropriation and then has adjustments. So it's not a hard cap. There's adjustments all the way around. So the total appropriations were 16 million. The adjustments are all the outside the cap, they call it. So that was 3,556,000. So 12,531,000 was all basically inside the cap. And then the state of New Jersey this year for the consumer price index gave us a flat 2%. We could go up. However, we do a resolution. They allow us to do a resolution ordinance to go up to 3.5%. So we did that. I think it was that last meeting. So the 2% was 250,000. The 1.5 is 187. So we're allowed to go up 12,970,000. They give us, we banked previous years. We didn't use right up to the 3.5. So we're allowed to bank those and use those in following years, which I used 100% this year. New ratables is an adjustment based upon new construction, and we get that from the assessor. So the maximum we were allowed to go inside the cap was at 13,273,733. Our appropriations inside the cap were 13,273,126. So we're $607 under. Before I started this process, when we went through the budget process, I was 500,000 over. Then I went through round 1 of cuts, and then round 2 again to cut additional, which I didn't want to do, but it makes for an extremely lean budget this year. You look at the increases, PFRS, group insurance.
Hold that, Tom. Any questions on the cap?
Sorry.
Yeah, but I'm going to jump into that. So that kind of gives you an idea of where we're at. Obviously, bare bones on the appropriations cap, but also the fact that Tom has already cut $500,000 out of the budget to get to this point.
Tom, were there any significant pockets of dollars from the 500,000, or was it a little bit from everywhere?
It's a little bit from everywhere.
Okay, so there wasn't one thing that you had intended to want to do this year that ended up having to be cut?
No, nope. Did you want the levy cap or no?
Yeah, do that while I pass out the tax
Okay.
rate.
So, in 2010, another way to curb expenditures, Governor Christie did a levy cap. So rather than slow down spending, he said, well, I'm going to put a cap on what we go out to the taxpayers for. So what he basically did was take the amount we went out to the taxpayers for and said 2%, that's it, flat. But there was a lot of complaints back in the day. So again, it's a watered down version of a 2%, such as if your debt service went up, if your capital improvements went up, they gave you adjustments for that in this levy cap calc. So bottom line, to go without going through all the numbers, we are under the levy cap for the state of New Jersey's position by 150,635.
Yeah, so the budget as presented meets the appropriations cap and the levy cap. So as far as the state is concerned, we've met their threshold to and really have the conversation. Some towns are already struggling out of the gate on those two. So I just passed out, if you, and Helen, you don't have a copy, I'll have to get this to you. I'm just gonna refer to it. It's the largest appropriation line items affecting the tax rate. So I'll just read it, Helen, and then I'll have Kat send it to you.
Okay.
So for 2026, the net valuation we talked about is the 1.1 billion. So therefore a tax point is 114,858. So what Tom did, the other Tom did, is to show the bulk of the increase for this budget, and the pain of the tax aspect is broken into really three main areas. First one is the increase in the PFRS pension, which is police and fire. For us, that would just be police because we don't have paid fire. So the increase on the PFRS was 65,000. So a little over half a tax point. The increase in the group insurance, once you factor in allocations and apportionment, is 437,000. So that's 3.8 tax points. And then the increase in the debt service is $527,000. So that's almost 4.6 points. So right out of the gate, three things that we really can't do much about. You got police pension, group insurance, debt is 9 tax points. 9 tax points is $322 on the average house. So approximately $322 of the 387 increase is police pension, group insurance, and debt. That's why this is a tough budget for us, because those three areas don't give us wiggle room.
So when something like this happens, you have items that go over 3.5%. So now then you can't do anything with these. So what you have to do is then cut something else and lower it to get, it's like putting a square peg in a round hole. So these, went way over 3.5. So now you got to go and revisit the budget. And that's why it was over, $500,000 that I had to go through and cut from previous year's stuff.
Right, so that gives you an idea where the major increases are that's driving the increase in the taxes for the average assessed property. On page 12, back into the budget document, we have the chart for current fund budget revenue comparison going back to 2013 to present. Fund balance January 1st was 4,412,109. Tom's using 2.3 million in the budget. That leaves us with 2,112,109. And the percentage of fund balance to the total budget is 13.47. Percentage of state aid to the total budget is approximately 6%. Unless the state's going to magically find money, which I doubt, because they're in a hole as well. That's where that will stand. And it just shows you the breakdown of how the current fund revenues are allocated. Similarly, we do the same thing for water sewer on page 13. Fund balance, 3,232,678. We have 1,056,931 in the budget. Leaves us with fund balance after budget intro. If it stays as it is, 2,175,747. Percentage of fund balance to the total budget, 17%. You see the total water sewer, which we'll get to when the crew comes later, 6,200,450. So just gives you and the public a breakdown of 2013 to 2026. Page 14, fiscal facts, famous Randolph Township dollar. Someday I'll have to give it back. So we have the breakdown of the Board of Ed, Town of Newton, County of Sussex, Library and Open Space. Approximately 50% of the tax dollar in the town is the Board of Ed, 35% is the town or municipal, 15% roughly county, 1.2% library, and 0.08 open space. That is your allocation, 2.662 per $100 of assessed value on page 14. Page 15 shows you the 43-year history of the fund balance in the town of Newton, going back to 1983. Most of us were in high school, or some of us were in elementary school. So All right, Helen got the joke. All right, so we're at 4.412,109 surplus available, 2.3 utilization balance, 2,112,109. So it gives you a great history of how the fund balance has grown in the town and how it's been utilized and what the balance is. That's page 15. Booklet. Now for the next 3 pages, we'll just go over revenues by page for current 16, 17, and 18, and then we'll jump into expenses that aren't related to the staff members coming. Obviously, if there's any questions, please let Tom or I know. So on page 16, we start going into revenues. So we have the amount to be raised by taxation, 11,324,246. That's the amount we draw from the taxpayers to make the budget work, surplus the aforementioned 2.3. And then we have local revenues, licensing, permits, hotel tax, interest on certain things, CFCs, et cetera. So you see the local revenues at 924,248. And you see the UCC dollar amount, 28,000 on fees. And then we see other special items, things like municipal asset sale, cable franchise, TV fee, Thor Labs, the offset, and the miscellaneous revenue, which carries over into 17. Have the Atlantic Health community service contribution. And then we have our new favorite one, local cannabis tax revenue of 70,000, most of that which we're apportioning to our homelessness task force coordinator, but it shows our estimate on the local cannabis tax revenue, which is approximately 70,000. Page 17. State aid, which is flat, 1,040,023. We don't anticipate that changing. On page 17, grants, that's just a snapshot in time. Obviously, we anticipate further grants during the calendar year, but as of the writing of this document, it's only 4,337. And then we have our interlocals. We have Montague Tax Collector. We have court. We have Board of Ed, which is the offset for the SRO, School Resource Officer. We have animal control contracts, which carry over into page 18. And then we have a parking authority contract. And then we have had interlocal zoning officer in 24, but that's no longer part of the budget. So total interlocal as of the writing is 280,635. And then we have receipt of delinquent taxes 260, which brings the grand total to 17,080,346.22. So I guess before we get into expenses, just any generic questions on revenues or anything at this point? Helen, do you have any revenue questions before I go?
Hey, just a couple, 2 questions and a comment. Just, is Scott coming later? Sorry, the agenda's on another screen.
Scott.
It looks like last year and this year we had a high number of tax appeals. I think we're like two delta since last year. Does Scott have any idea why? I mean, why we seem to continue to be running a little bit high on the appeals?
We've been good on the residential. It's really the commercials because they have it down to a science with the attorneys filing every year and certain developers and certain property owners in town. You know, it's a game to them, right? It's cheaper for them to file the appeal with their attorneys and try to squeeze and adjust. And, you know, that's the game, the cat and mouse game. Residential really, because of the, you know, the program we're in, they're pretty locked in, right? You know, it's hard to challenge a residential assessment when it's just been modified or tweaked, right? And obviously
That's why I was asking.
Yeah, so it's the larger commercial properties that just have us on speed dial.
And so when they're in the midst of an appeal, or if appeal carries over, their taxes are frozen, right? Or something to that effect?
I wouldn't say
This is the appealed amount or the,
Yeah. I mean, what he usually tries to do is say, all right, we're gonna hold you current, but then next year we're gonna make the adjustment because Scott's conscious of the fact that he doesn't want to cannibalize the budget, especially after it's already introduced or adopted, you know, so it's
Right.
we're always trying to push it and adjust forward rather than retroactive, right?
Yeah.
He's been pretty successful with that. I expect that to continue. You know,
Okay.
apartment buildings, other large properties in town that I won't mention, but you kind of know which ones they are and which, you know, developers and property owners they are.
Right. Okay.
can I
Um,
piggyback off of Kellen? Do you mind if I piggyback off
Oh,
of
yeah, no, go ahead.
the
Go ahead.
tax things? So just out of my own curiosity, we have some on here from tax year 2019 2020, 2021. Like, I did a little bit of research and just, tried to see what what took longer. Because usually they're settled within a year to 2 years.
Yeah.
So are there any significant reason why like one is still outstanding from 2019 and two from 2020?
I'll ask.
Yeah, it's more out of curious. They're not, huge
I'll
tax
ask.
dollars. Thanks.
The other, I guess, comment, just wanted to tell Tom Ferry, we're using 2.3 on the fund balance in this budget, right? 2.3, which is the highest, but it's only 160 year over year. But doing that despite all of the challenges, I just wanted to make a note that everything that you, Tom Ferry and Tom Russo listed in terms of the challenges are all out of the control of the municipality, which is crazy to think about some of the financial health issues that the other municipalities might be facing. And so the fact that we are basically flat on the fund balance utilization is commendable. And I just wanted to point that out as we're on the revenue side. So just kudos to the team. The ability to still grow the surplus on the fund balance despite all the challenges is great. So I just want to make that comment. And then the last thing about state aid, I know we're anticipating flat. I've been trying to follow the governor's press conferences and releases on all of the issues happening at the state level with the budget and things she's trying to identify. We don't have any reason to feel as if there might be, I know we're not thinking that there's going to be an increase, but not any decrease, right? No indications.
Yeah, nothing from the Managers Association League or the GFOA, I don't think. So no, nothing pointing in that direction, but her budget looks worse than ours. So I don't know
Right.
what's
That's
on
why I
the table
mentioned
for
it.
them other than, sales tax, income tax, the usual things that they look to leverage at the state level. But yeah.
Okay. And then my last question, I think, is more for Matt or Sandy, whoever attended the last mayor's quarterly meeting. When I was attending last year, there was a lot of conversation about the county open space tax and that basically running out of calendar time, based on the voters' referendum of including that. And there was some discussion at the county level on whether or not that was going to continue, if there was going to be something coming down where it was paused or frozen, particularly because the county has basically preserved all the farmland preservation that they had intended to back when the tax was put into place. So I'm just wondering if there's any conversation at the county level about any of the open space taxes related to farmland preservation.
There was a great deal of conversation, especially from the mayors that are hardest hit in the Highlands area, but there was actually nothing that was being resolved. They were very concerned about how they're being hit with the taxes, how they can't, because of their being in the Highlands, how they can't do development. And so there was a lot. There were 3 mayors from 3 different Highland groups, Milford, Jefferson, and I don't remember the third, but they were very concerned about how all of this is going to affect them and how they're going to come up with. Everyone was complaining about their budgets this year and how their budgets are looking. So there was a lot of complaints going on.
So Sandy, I appreciate that. And having recently been appointed to Highlands Council, I definitely am aware of the challenges that exist. I was speaking more specifically around the farmland preservation tax. If there was any update from the county around that.
Not on the farmland. They were mostly discussing the Highland.
Okay, all right. Thank you. That's it for now.
Any other revenue questions before I jump into expenses?
My only question,
Just the mic.
Yeah.
Zoomers.
My only question would be as far as the health insurance goes.
Yeah.
Is there any point, if it continues this way and gets worse, that we have to consider making changes as far as either contributions or plans that we offer, or can we? Is I guess the other question to that.
We already offer the menu of plans that are dominant in the HIF, right? The 15, the 10, the HMO, the 2040. We already put the newbies into the 2040, and if they want the Cadillac, they have to pay up anyway. So
Not a lot of
we were
wiggle
kind
room
of ahead
there.
of the curve
Yeah.
on in
Okay.
that regard. At least not for this budget cycle. I don't
Right.
see any wiggle. We could try to be creative for next year, but I don't know what the next plan would be after the 2040. You know what I mean? I don't know what you think, but
I mean, as with every opportunity, you always sell, not so much the HMO, but there is a high deductible plan that's option. But a lot of times people look at the end, even though you explain it to them and the option of maybe adding in an HSA down the road, I think individuals are so fixated and so used to a certain copay, and the thought of having to shell out thousands and thousands of dollars up front before they have any bit of coverage is very scary. And I think there is some legality to it in that what we offer has to be comparable, if not better than what the state offers too. So there's a fine line. You're trying to find a balance, and we have by introducing, a good plan, entry level plan that I would say a good chunk at this point of employees are in. In fact, actually, it's a pretty good plan. I'm in the 2040,
Yeah,
which is the
2040.
lower of the level, just because it's more cost effective.
Hmm.
I have had no issues with it, and it's been very popular going forward as for folks and for the town. So
Okay, thank you.
but yeah.
always looking at things though.
We'll ask Vaza Agency
Yeah.
to rerun everything after this cycle to see if there's any hidden, and the big driver on the health insurance besides the premium cost is the GLPs, which a lot of our plans actually don't cover, but in most of the towns, that's what's killing, the budget is the GLPs are through the roof as far as utilization, diabetic
Yeah.
and weight loss. Sadly.
So maybe just to double down on that a little bit, since health insurance costs are kind of the elephant in the room to a degree, I would be curious to see if we were to run numbers, if there was the option for a higher deductible tier or incentivized AHA migration. Just to see what that would potentially look like.
Sure.
Maybe for next year's budget. And then, I don't know what our diligence is as far as this goes, but maybe doing a spousal coverage or Medicare Advantage, just audit of what we have to make sure that those who are claimed as dependents are truly dependents as far as this goes, just to, it's just another avenue of potential cost savings.
Sure. Yeah, next year is not gonna be much better as far as health insurance segment, so. All right, page.
Then just really, I'm
And I-
sorry, one last thing, Mayor and Tom, I just want to point out too, particularly for, I know the public that are online, without the interlocal service agreements, the special items of revenue, the pilot payments, I mean, they also represent a significant amount of revenue on the revenue coming inside of the balance sheet. So I just want to make note of that. And of course, we can't claim all the grants now, but we know that the last couple of years has shown us that the town's been successful in receiving grants to do a lot of work to the benefit of the town and taxpayers. And so I think this is important to note. I know there's offsetting expenses on several of the agreements and some of the special items of revenue, but I think that those outpace the revenues outpace the expenses. So it certainly helps when we have those agreements with other towns, whether it's ACO, port, et cetera. And so as a comment that I make every year, if there are other opportunities that come up throughout the year, to look for agreements, shared service agreements in particular, plus the grants, that we keep our eyes and ears open and our minds open to possibilities.
All right, I'm on page 19. We'll go until 6 o'clock, and then we have our deputy fire chief here at 6, so we'll bounce. So 19, we have expenditures current. We have town manager's office, S&W, managers, other, human resources, S&W, HR, other. Go page by page.
Do we have more interns this year?
Right now,
Or no?
we have the one.
We have
Okay.
one that we're, quasi grooming,
Yeah,
potentially.
possible for employment opportunities.
Yeah.
Might open up this year.
So hence the
Yeah.
You should sit here throughout the entire year.
Throughout the
versus
year.
like summer.
Only one. We're not doing any more.
And then the marketing, what was it? Oh, what are we still, is that like the market, the company that we're using for marketing, or is that all like inclusive of other things?
Yeah, that's all. You want to pull up the marketing accounts? Yeah, we have two marketing accounts, one in current, one in water sewer. Jenny can roll through that. But it could be everything from the events we all attend to ads, to website, to social, to
Yeah, portion goes to current, portion goes to water sewer.
Mhm.
And it's KKPR.
Yeah.
Sussex County Chamber. Most of it's KKPR, Gravity Design Works. Girl Scouts of Northern New Jersey.
fun.
Girl Scouts of Northern New Jersey.
Ads, sponsorship. Yeah. So, yeah, those
The
kind, those
movies,
kind
yeah, the movies and the summit now.
for the events.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is the EAP new? I mean, or is that just a different line this year? I mean, it's
So-
great if it's a new benefit.
Yes, it is. We've had one that we piggybacked off the county for years. Not a very strong program, something that was just there, but I did a lot of research earlier in the year. Sorry about that. I did a lot of research earlier in the year and found a fairly strong program that I'm very excited to roll out once we get through this process. But it's going to have a lot of benefits that'll be not only available to the employees, but their family, their immediate family. So online resources, access to providers, referrals. It's very encompassing and I'm very excited. So
And does it include a certain number of counseling options as well?
Yes.
For staff and family members? So to
Yep.
be able to do all that for 4,000, that's really great. I'm glad
Yeah.
that we have that, particularly with mental health being a priority, the wellness initiative that has been going on. That's great that we're
Mhm.
adding that to the repertoire.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wanted to say that was one of the mayor's goals this year was mental health for the employees, so that this is part of our initiative for that.
Very good.
So maybe since we're on that, just for a moment, what is the dollar figure on KKPR?
I would pull up the resolution. You have no, the PO.
In 2025, we spent a total of 23,600. Right now.
Yeah, the PO issued not to exceed the 26 based on the resolution from the reorg. Should be, I think it was about the same, right? That wasn't it?
I think so.
Yeah, so approximately 24.
And we had shopped around a little bit and gotten other folks that were quite significantly higher.
So I mean, the only question here, this is more just of a devil's advocacy pursuit. Since, our hands are pretty much tied in our most significant, expenditures is, do we have an expected or equitable rather ROI on a marketing firm? Which might be a little tough to monetize, but I just want to make sure that if we're engaging with this, if this is an item that is functionally an elective item, are we getting the proper ROI here?
Something we can look at during the year. I mean, we're already locked in on calendar year for the contract, but
Right, but I mean, just like,
Yeah.
if we're gonna look forward to budget year 27.
Yeah.
Looking at that, can we figure out a way to try to monetize our ROI on that for calendar year 26 before we get into the next budget season, just to make sure that, if the, not random, but if the concerned resident who comes to the budget hearing, wants to ask a question, why are we spending 20-some thousand dollars on a marketing firm when, we're saying our hands are tied with a lot of these inflation or these increases?
Sure.
Or is that a, reasonable expenditure? That's all.
agreed. Yeah, we can do that for 27. Any other 19? All right, we'll go to page 20. On page 20, we have town council, salary and wage and other, town clerk, S and W and other, and elections. That's page 20. The budget.
With elections, are we anticipating any increase in the potential change in operation to elections for November? Oh, sorry, wrong direction.
Officer.
Yes.
No.
All right.
Yeah, pretty static.
This is a year that we do have a municipal election,
Right.
so our fees our costs are a little bit more than they were last year.
I'm referring to the executive order, presidential executive order pursuits of restructuring elections.
Yeah, we haven't heard anything from anybody on that.
I'll have to ask Dr. Caldwell. Since he is the head of elections for New Jersey. All right, nothing else on 20. We'll go to 21. We have finance, S and W, finance other. Tom Ferry, we have audit. Then we go into collection of taxes. That's Teresa, we have S and W and page 21.
There are new lines for purchasing agent and town planner under finance administration.
Yeah, you wanna explain the
Came
breakdown?
out, yeah, so those were being tucked away for some reason in
Community development.
Community development, that's Monica.
yeah. So I thought they belonged in finance, so I moved them up to there.
Just a relocation, not an
Yeah,
actual.
Reallocation, yeah, because if you go to community development, you'll see how that budget dropped.
Yeah, I did
Once we
notice
get to
that,
it.
so.
Yeah, then no,
Yeah.
your QPA, so.
Oh, 22. Election of taxes totals, then we go to Scott, assessor, salary, other. Legal, we have contracts that are up this year. So we're busy with a police union this year. New police chief contract, which I'm working on. And then we have engineering, and then we have economic development. Page 22.
I have a question, Tom. Okay. The GIS mapping.
Yeah.
I see it's been charged in previous years, but we had nothing spent in 2025. But yet we've got it back in here under GIS mapping.
Yeah. In case we have to do any updates for our GIS or mapping through HPA, we budget that annually.
Seems pretty consistent, it's just that we didn't have any.
Yeah, it fluctuates year over year, but we need something to charge against if we have to do any updates to the system. And then the engineering consultant is, if we don't have a project, a capital that we're charging against, I need to tap into a line item for engineering, which isn't just limited to HPA, but any engineer for random ask or, a yield sign on the green or, like Diller Avenue crosswalk, like the random residential inquiry. I need to charge, we don't have an engineer on staff, so I have to hit an account, so that'll be the 216 account. Right now, we're working on the yield sign issue, and then we have a resident through the portal that had an inquiry. I had to send that to Corey, so starts the clock. So. And compared to other towns, that's not a lot of money that we spend on engineering. '23 Historic Commission, Planning, Zoning, and Admin, salary and wage and other, community development. You see the aforementioned decrease that John Paul inquired about, and Tom Ferry explained in community development, the drop from 20,000 to 2,900. The reallocation.
What goes into the affordable housing plan line item? So only at 155 last year. Is that if there's any issues or?
Consulting with Jess on all the updates that we're doing for this year.
Okay.
I wonder if we can trim that down. Can we trim any of that down? I don't know. But Tom, just put an asterisk on that for me. Let's ask Jess.
It's a big ticket line.
Yeah, if we can
Yeah.
pull any of that out of the cover trust. Let's just ask Jess, it's a yes or a no, but we'll check that out with the mayor. 180, 219. Yes, just. Yes.
Theoretically.
Unless we have to go back and forth with the planning board
Yeah,
a bunch of times.
yeah, but I got to see what's anticipated to come out of that, so I'll check with Tom on that. Right. 24. We have building inspection. Code enforcement. Which we're working on. Other insurance. Workers' comp, and then group insurances. So that we've already touched on. If it's all right, I'll switch gears to fire while the deputy chief is here, if you don't mind. Chaz, why don't you come up to the table next to Tom over there and we'll.
You guys want to discuss something else?
No. Just you've been patient, so we'll respect fine. So fire, thanks for coming, Chaz. Fire is on page 26. Fire department, other expenses, counts 200 through 299. Couple capital, but we'll start with detail. Chaz, maybe just give us an overview of the department, anything you want to throw at the council as far as updates or anything. So I'll turn it over to you.
Sure. Good evening, everybody. Not seeing a whole lot of change in anticipated needs for our expense this year. This was listed here. Obviously costs of everything are going up, but we're seeing, especially around our contracts for air bottles, extinguishers, and post testing, not increasing a whole lot from last year. Likewise with e-dispatch, I think we're still gonna fall within the 1,500. I know we posted 809 last year, but we also have to switch to a new state standard for fire reporting, which may require additional piece of software, but we still expect to come underneath the budget for that line item. And yeah, no other major changes, and we'll go over some capital things later, but if there are any questions, let me know.
I think the only thing that I'm seeing that's mildly striking, if I can say that, is just the first item for education meetings and conferences. So 23 was 2,000, 24 was 2,000, 25 was 6,000, we charged 3, which was 50% increase. And then for 26, we had 100% increase.
Increase in costs for the fire academy and the courses they offer. We were also trying to do some critical training, especially with the renovation to state number 1, we obviously don't want to tear apart that floor. The issue in 2025, however, is they had a significant backlog in classes. So we had reached out a few times, but they've gotten popular with even out of county towns. So we're already on the docket for next year to take full advantage of their various simulators. So that explains the increase there. Their costs went up when they upgraded the facility.
Got it.
Okay.
So.
Good catch. I just want to bring that one up. I know that was gonna be a question.
And then Chaz, turnout gear we do annually, and we usually try to get a grant for those, so I don't think that's much in play, but I know the incident command vehicle we've tried in the past, the council had some concerns, maybe from your perspective. Give us an idea of incident command vehicle, how you think that would be used, and that would be something we would put in the enterprise program anyway, but I'm just
I
curious.
was actually gonna ask about it.
Yeah.
And I like your spreadsheet. It's a lot bigger than one I had. So for the incident command vehicle, particularly the town like Newton, we are a small town, but a lot of, as you know, with our infrastructure and some of the things that PD and us respond to is more small city like, particularly with the hospital, high rise, the 75 Mill Street. Is a command vehicle is critical for establishing a command post immediately and calling for mutual aid and more help immediately. We're either using the command vehicle or one or two personal vehicles, also set up a secondary command post around back. Because with large incidents, you're pooling resources in the front and the rear of the building. And even we're now also involved in medical calls with the EMS with CPRs that vehicle becomes a first responder vehicle for those types of emergencies as well. Current vehicle is about 10 years old. It's holding up, but there are mechanical issues that are showing signs of issues that we're taking it down to DPW for a regular repair, leaving the chief or deputy chief to use their personal vehicle, which I don't know if it's covered under insurance for fire responses. I know there's a little bit of a.
Hopefully we don't have to find out.
No.
It's all great.
But as you know,
It's a
you've seen,
concern.
especially when we're not on the highway, so it's not like you see on the news where people are getting hit on the side of the road, but there's always a concern that we're in precarious
I agree.
positions. So, like I said, just due to age and necessity for running effective incident command, especially with multiple departments, that having multiple radios in a single car and a single point of access for the incident commander is vital.
We can enterprise that, right? That should be on our list that we gave enterprise. That was Andrew Luck, I would think.
Not sure.
We'll double check.
I saw that in the paper. I was curious, like.
Yeah, it should. I mean, it should be just like any other vehicle.
Kind of right on the thresh.
Yeah.
Is that something that, I guess we'll talk more later. I'm more curious about the program. Is that something happening this year or we defer?
Oh, yeah, no, we just started. We're already ordering vehicles, but it's a certain amount each year. So
Oh, okay.
we have a meeting, Tom and I, in a couple of weeks with Andrew Luck, not the football player. So
I mean, whatever, makes the most financial sense. To the town, obviously.
So
It
that
works like a lease.
that was my question in regards to that item, was that would it fall under the enterprise plan?
yeah,
And would it be something that we could do this year, or would it have to be, depending on?
yeah, because right now we're
What the
trying to get rid of
allocations
the old dogs and Public Works or PD or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, but, no decision this second, because obviously that would be part of a capital ordinance, but Tom and I were going to bring that up with Andrew at Enterprise when we have our meeting.
I was gonna say, even in general, like our needs aren't different from the patrol vehicle, other than obviously we don't need the separator in the back seat.
Right.
Most guys behave.
It's
It's just more out of the cabinet. So even if it's just an add-on order.
yeah, it's another Tahoe. I hate to say, but at this point, right, they're all pretty much Tahoes.
What do you think about the old vehicle? Do you think we could be used as kind of the deputy backup type of vehicle that maybe isn't used quite as much, but they can use it maybe to cart people to fire school?
That's
or
where-
whatever.
Since it's paid for.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, rather than, if it doesn't have to be part of a trade-in, if we could do the
Yeah.
enterprise deal.
That's
we
what we
could,
have to
we
say.
could
though.
repurpose that maybe.
And we
something
do
that's a little
often
less.
multiple calls at once is the other thing. So
Yeah.
deputy or captain or whoever's next senior. has to
Yeah,
set up
so I
a
think
whole
that-
different operation somewhere else.
That'd be a good use to explore it, since we're doing all our maintenance in-house anyway, so we're kind of keeping costs down with that.
Yeah,
It'd be a good way to kind of,
it's not like the big diesel trucks.
Yeah, so
For
it's
service.
on our list of items to discuss with Enterprise.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. Any other questions for Deputy Chief?
So on that same line, my only comments would be, if there are mechanical issues, are we properly leveraging the mechanic that we have?
Yeah, we don't send this one out to any dealer or anything. It goes right down to.
Right, but I'm gonna say, if there are current mechanical issues, just wanna make sure they're being addressed.
Oh, they are. Yeah, it just, as you get older, you end up just becomes more frequent,
Right.
more of an issue.
And if this were to be a capital outlay instead of going through the enterprise program, I've been more a little leery of, perhaps kicking the can down the road a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just because, again, it is a tax sensitive budget this year. We want a couple we could cut, or at least delay what we can delay.
Yeah.
And I think this might be an item that, if it weren't able to be engaged through enterprise that maybe it's worth kicking it down just a little bit.
Yeah, but we manage like a regular fleet vehicle. I mean, it is a town fleet vehicle, so yeah, we're not looking for anything special there. Whoever's responsible for you guys.
Tom, I have a question. I see that we have on the capital budget turnout gear. Can you just remind me? I know this is something that we have every couple of years on the capital improvement budget. What was the last time that we did it? And is this because we have?
We try to get the gear every year. We do the grant application with Millennium.
So for turnout gear, I just did the inventory this past week. For the NFPA compliance, barring damage, they're every 10 years they have to be replaced. There's also a recommendation for a second set of gear because of the increased awareness of cancer related to the fire department. So we got spare gear or stuff that fits people. Keep in regular rotation. Something goes out for repair, we have a little in stock. Generally, though, the capital portion of the budget is for brand new sets. Stuff coming off end of life. We have a few sets now, and then we take on additional members. They have to be custom fitted for a turnout gear. And the latest cost I got today is $7,231 per person, head to toe. So unfortunately, we're not immune to the lovely cost increases of everything.
You said 731?
Yeah, it's $7,231 per person.
Oh,
Not
7,000.
Yeah.
Step
That
back.
does not include SCBA or a mask. That's just for the helmet, pants, jacket, safety harness, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so it only gets us 6 sets based on this budget item.
Yeah. And then we generally use the O&E for replacements and break fix type items that are, you're not making a large purchase for. So we're trying to see if we can find a way, like Tom had mentioned, whether we do an amount or do a grant, try to spread out so we're not doing large replacement orders. And then you're stuck in that cycle forever of placing large sets of turnout gear every couple of years. Sorry, JP, I said.
That's all right. So to step back to the incident command vehicle, just one moment.
Sure.
So it's just catching my eye that a couple items down, this is the police budgets that we're replacing the 2017 Durango in the police department. Is that vehicle being repurposed? Do we know?
That's an enterprise.
So, I mean, the Durango, is that being turned into?
Yeah, I mean, remember, part of the beauty of the program is we gotta turn stuff in to do the leases, otherwise we just shot ourselves in the foot. So, yeah, yeah. And the only reason I left the capital the way it is so that you could see next year the capital will look differently based on enterprise, but yeah, I wanted you to see what we're looking to replace that has some level of critical need, so.
Right. Otherwise, my suggestion would have been that.
Yeah,
we didn't have
repurpose that, yeah.
It's just to kick it down. If we were gonna kick the can down,
Yeah.
it might be a salvageable vehicle for a few years.
And then since JP is looking ahead, I have something to look ahead on the fire department. I see in our 2027 capital improvement program budget that we are looking to replace engine 801.
Yes. It's reaching its end of life for the NFPA. It's 18 years old this year. New replacement will probably, with order times as they are today, would be another 3 years. So would be like we were with the old 802 and the Snozzle, then you start paying an extensive amount of money in repairs and downtime. And especially with that truck now, and it was in the DPW garage for a couple of years, we're seeing a lot of issues starting to culminate now with pumps leaking, check engine lights. She's getting the 20-year mark in the recommended replacement cycle.
And what are we spending annually on the maintenance of that vehicle?
I can give that to you. I don't have the report for me at the moment. And I would include in non-PMs, because obviously that's every vehicle receives preventative maintenance. So I'd try to get you the break fix cost.
Yeah, just anticipating another tight budget again next year. Thinking about if there is anything, right, JP, that we can look at in terms of extending life.
Yeah, we're running into that with the 3 of the other 4 in the fleet. The power ladder is 15 years old and the rescue engine's 10 years old. So we're going to start creeping up and we're going to start clustering together vehicles that need to get replaced. And then I sympathize because I knew the health costs were an issue. So this is a little eye opening for me as well. But then we're going to start getting to a point where we're clustering large purchases again together, or having to take risk on NFPA compliance and vehicle downtime if it becomes an issue.
So just looking at, kicking cans down roads here. So my understanding is that we're talking NFPA 1900 or
Yes,
1901?
1901.
So my understanding of the standards, you have a 15-25 rule where at 15 years, the vehicle should be relegated to reserve status and 25 should be retired service. Since we're at 18 years, are we currently operating this vehicle as a reserve vehicle?
No, we don't have a fleet big enough to have reserve because we have two. If we had one station, we could.
Mhm.
But because we have two stations and the geographical challenges and they're all a little specialized, they all tend to go out the same. For a while because of 802's replacement taking a while. I'll have to look back at the records. It had the most mileage and hours by far and fuel costs than the other rigs.
So one thing that we may have asked for this last year, I can't remember, but I think on the vehicle, on the fleet list, we have mileage reported for the,
We do.
Fire
It's pretty
apparatus?
accurate for the.
but not hours reported. And I think those are vehicles that idle for extended periods of
Right.
time. And I think having hours
Yeah.
reported would also be helpful.
I didn't see that sheet too. I don't
It
remember
would
what page
be.
it was on. How do you guys collect that? Is that something you want me to send to Dom?
I don't know.
This is my first meeting, so.
That's all right.
Yeah, it goes-
Mine too.
everything goes through.
So that's a Tom question. I don't know how that fits in.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if you want them, obviously we collect them and we also report them on our fuel logs. I don't, so we can grab those hour numbers pretty easily.
Since we were talking about the future and 801 replacement, there is the option of a more generic kind of cookie cutter like model. It tends to be a little cheaper than your
It won't be a
custom.
pumper tanker. We are gonna scale it down. It's not gonna be holding 2,500 gallons of water anymore.
Right.
Kudos to the water department for all the hard work they've done over the last 20 years, improving the water system. We'd probably be scaling it down to about 1,000 gallons. A lot of that is just to buy time because of the way staffing is and the way volunteerism is. We need at least one vehicle with a larger water tank than the others to give us a few minutes. Because of our emergencies and fires, we do not have time to hit the hydrant right away. We've got to get inside and get somebody out quick. So it would buy us like 5-6 minutes with 1,000 gallons.
Sure.
But yeah, that's a good point. And we will look at the other option too, is they have, because of the, I'm sure people are aware of the fire manufacturer consolidation issue that's also facing people,
Sure.
towns nationwide.
Oh, yeah.
Like forever, like with the ladder, that was already in production. We want that one.
Yeah.
So a lot of manufacturers now are doing like what car companies do. In a line of vehicles, there's a whole bunch coming up. So we're looking at different manufacturers. We only have a fleet of 4, so we're not looking at. They don't have to all be exact same. We're not going to get the cost savings. We're not buying in bulk.
Right.
Get these companies to play off each other, lower the price.
Yeah,
Pick
'cause
something off the
that's
line.
just the way that you can kind of reduce the impact a little bit. So that's good.
Yeah, it's a component manufacturers also consolidating and raising the price is part of the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else for Deputy Chief?
While we're talking about it, so one of the driving factors between getting or behind getting the stick aerial was the narrowness of streets in town. And I think it kind of begs the question as to whether or not there's room or feasibility for a mini pumper. Because it may, it potentially in theory, easier navigation within town, easier access, and then also potentially open your driving pool, because operating, your larger engine, your larger pumper is a little more difficult than operating a mini pumper.
It's a little bigger.
Right. So I don't know if there's potential room for that in the future, maybe to downsize, if you will, just for access.
I apologize. Thank you.
Just for access. Just for access purposes and to increase the driving pool, perhaps like that's your starter driver, you work it out and then you can escalate up. Just,
It's a good idea if we actually have looked at that. Not that you want to hear in a tough tax year. If we had to add to the fleet, really, as a spare or as a utility truck / it's a backup engine. Because the issue you have with the mini pumpers is it's not a Class A engine, but it'll be a Class A pump-ish. Well, then you start affecting your ISO ratings because you won't have a Class A pumper. You'll be reducing your pump capacity and your tank capacity. And they also don't hold the engine company requirement for ground ladders.
Right.
Yeah, and unfortunately, if we were regularly getting out 2 pieces of equipment, I'd say yes. But sometimes that vehicle is the only thing coming out. So it almost has to function as a be all until more help arrives.
Right. Do you know what our current ISO rating is?
I googled it a while ago and I thought it was way lower than I thought. I think it's 6.
Okay, I had no idea, so curious.
And
Actually,
I might be going way back and maybe even Michelle or Sandy remember this, but we used to have, I feel like we used to have a smaller truck and then it deemed it not necessary. Am I recalling that correctly?
You're thinking, I don't know, it was 806 or 807. That was the pickup truck with the like forest fire.
that's old school. Yeah.
on it.
Oh yeah, we had
Brush truck.
and that was a donation from the federal government.
Different type of vehicle, but yeah, it was a brush truck.
That was a donation from the federal government, but then they required everybody to maintain brush or forest fire credentials, and we have lovely plant life in Newton, but we don't have forests, so we gave it back. But no, that's an excellent question, and we were going to be looking at something smaller. You know, I say 1,000 gallons. These days, you can get a city style pumper
Right.
with
Yeah,
I
city.
1,000 gallons.
It may have been removed from the budget or the capital plan, or maybe just kicked down the line, but I think in the past year or two, there was a utility truck on the list, and I don't see it anymore, but
It did get removed, but I don't know if it ever got put back on the. It looks like it didn't, because then we also have we have a lot of stuff coming up that we're looking at, and we're like, we can't. There's only so much you can ask for.
Right,
You know, we have air packs in 2 more years.
Right.
That's another one, and we'll have radios, and then
Right.
the other apparatus that have to start getting replaced.
But that's what I was thinking. Maybe this is, an opportunity
Yeah.
for consolidation potentially if we were looking at bigger ticket items in the near future.
Yeah, that was a good idea. Yeah, yeah, that's what we did with the rescue. We consolidated that into the engine company.
All right. Anybody have anything else for Deputy Chief? No? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
I'll work on my microphone placement. So thank you, everybody. Virtual.
Go to page 33 for the police department comes in from the blazing. Oh, no. No, you never know. 33, we got state and federal grants, interlocal tax collector, free Don. Part of that SRO, that's into ACO, which carries over into 34. So, fences, current. Once we get through these pages, Mayor, we'll do a TV timeout and then restroom break. It's anything 33, 34.
Municipal court increase was.
Did you reallocate anything on the court? Jen or Tom? No.
Well,
Or-
are you, they're talking about S&W there?
Yeah.
So Kathy Quinn is going to be retiring. I can't think of the word there. I think I was just jealous. But she's retiring. And so what we've done is, because of that, we have built in a buffer of somebody who's going to be stepping into the spot, mirroring them. We do it with all of them. Anybody that's transitioning out, especially in a department head role of significance, so that there is some shadowing. Because at the end of the day, the AOC too has a significant decision in, how we place things, and they have a lot of input into it. So we like to have our ducks in a row to ensure that we have a smooth transition when she leaves. So we have to kind of creep it up a little bit.
Yeah, we don't know exact timing.
Yeah, it's kind of a.
Nothing on 33, 34. So if you look at 34, we have CIF 188, and then we have capital leases. Tommy Allen just mentioned 50,000 on the leases for the council.
Yeah, so we put in, so the capital leases are enterprise. But some of the equipment may not get here until June. So it's really almost like half a year for that. And as we go, we're doing one at a time, looking at it, having meetings with Andrew. Andrew's talking to the DPW and to the police. So, we're small steps.
And I'm sure the council has a question. It's in bright red. Page 35, just maybe, I know we talked about the debt and the increase, but maybe just talk about that 400,000 on the note and the interest, just, give them the backstory to that if you could.
Right, so when you do a bond ordinance, there's if it's not a grant, there's a debt portion. And those have been accumulating, and so when I go to pay for those bond ordinances, I don't have cash. The only way to get cash is to do short-term borrowing. So with last year, the last ordinance, we crept up to $4 million. So I was borrowing about $1.8 million from water and sewer. And I don't like to do that, set up a big interfund like that. So this is sort of like kicking the can down the road. So eventually I had to borrow $4 million to fund all these ordinances that have been done in the past. Now, bond law says after the 10th anniversary of a bond note being issued, you have to do permanent financing, meaning a bond sale. So as I've done in the past with Newton and with most of all my towns that as an auditor, in Sussex County, being that we're smaller, I always say pay off the bond anticipation note in the 10 years. So that's $400,000. Now, bond law also says you don't really necessarily have to do that. You could wait to the third round of rolling it. However, that's going to leave you with 7 payments to get rid of the $4 million. Bond law also says you don't have to pay off in 7 payments. You take the average useful life of those ordinances. Let's say it's various equipment, whatever, and it's 15 or 10 years, the average useful life. The formula is 2 times the life minus 1. So in that case, you would make a principal payment of 20 minus 1, which would be 19 years. So again, you'd only be making a 1/19th payment on the 3rd anniversary. So you'd be left with this huge dollar amount at the end of 10 years. So I wouldn't want to see you do that. I would say, let's just do the 10 years so that at the end of 10 years, you have no debt and you have nothing to do for a bond sale, because bond sales are very expensive. So this year we put down a principal payment of $400,000. And of course, we took out the note in last year. So in this year we have an interest payment. So principal and interest. It's about $500,000. Basically, that's what the increase is in this budget, is that one line item. But again, we've bought $4 million worth of equipment. Even with grants, we're still left with this large amount of construction costs.
One of the things that got to that 495 on page 36. So all right, with the mayor, we'll take our TV timeout.
Yep.
Alan, I'm gonna pause recording and then we'll come back 6:30 with police department.
Yep, got it, thanks.
Alan, can you still hear us? In Punta Cana?
Yes, sir.
All right, so we have police department next, recreation and pool. Start with police. We have current chief, future chief. Lots of future chiefs. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming. How many more days, Chief D'Annabelle?
14.
And counting.
Who's counting?
Is that counting today or not?
No, that's not counting.
Who's counting?
Day's over.
Who's counting? You'll miss us. You'll be back.
Yeah.
That's what I always say.
On the 23rd.
Nice try. Page 25. Who is actually speaking this evening? Are you sitting back? You're gonna
No,
lean back
we'll
and let Dan?
We'll both speak.
Just checking. Terry, can you hear me?
Last meeting, can hear you.
Gentlemen. Talk about salary and wage and other, page 25.
Yes. Salary and wages.
In the department.
As you can see, there is an increase from last year. I went back to 2021, which was about a little bit higher than what 25 was charged. 22, there was an increase of about 100,000. But from 22 to 23, there was 100,000 decrease due to retirements. So we saved about $100,000 there. From 23 to 24, we saw a $30,000 increase, with the net still being 62,000 in the plus. From 24 to 25, we saw a $53,000 decrease. So over those 5 years, we have roughly saved about $115,000. And now we're back up to, plus 115 off of that. So if you really looked at the last 5 years, we're about a 0.016 increase a year. And the average just in the police department average per officer is about $4,000 collectively. Obviously, it's not just $4,000 for each officer, but collectively speaking, it's about a $4,000 increase per officer.
Operationally, you want to discuss with the council or just mention beyond just the total dollar amount on salary, just, staffing and the
Sure.
allocation for March 23rd, maybe Dan can jump in.
Yeah, I think maybe I'll pass that along to Dan on what's moving forward with the police department.
Yeah, I think
on March 23rd.
March 23rd.
Yeah.
Keep mentioning it. Yeah, I think the biggest thing to keep in mind, this is really not any structural changes or anything like that. The biggest thing to keep in mind is that we have a very junior department right now, and our focus this year is going to be heavily on training and experience. So there's going to be, unfortunately, when you have only, we're always kind of at minimum staffing for the majority of the time. So every time we have to send an officer out for training, we have to replace them with overtime. So that's one of the considerations that we have to just keep in mind going forward. But that's going to be our big focus for the next several years is, a good amount of training because we have such junior officers on staff now. But that'll be our focus.
Let's go over who's getting what on the 23rd. So Dan will be taking over the police department as of March 23rd. We'll get promoted to chief. Lieutenant Russell Post will get provisional lieutenant. Patrolman Armstrong will get promoted to sergeant. And we are reassigning Sergeant Schauger to the admin sergeant spot. Miss anybody?
Oh, that's all.
Okay.
That's everybody.
Moving parts. Mayor will do the swearing in on the 23rd, honestly.
Yep.
Right.
So, I'm sorry, one quick question. What's the increase for the specials from 115 to?
So the numbers were just transposed.
There's some
So
typo,
if
yeah.
you see the clerical is way down. Right from 94 to 50.
Okay.
That it's just, it's in the wrong spot.
That was me.
That's all. The total is correct.
You lose a municipal.
The allocations for the other things are just a little misrepresented.
So when we put this in the final budget, I mean, the state budget just shows one line, police salary and wages. But that's more for internal purposes where we charge it to. So once we get the final budget, I'm gonna sit down with Jen and the chief and we'll adjust those for internal purposes where we're gonna charge us to.
Thank you.
While we're on this page, anything with CENTCOM as far as S&W or staffing?
No, just contractual increases within that department. Looks all accurate to me. I mean, there's nothing that stands out that's overlandish.
Helen, did you have anything on 25 before I jump to 26? No?
I do not.
Could I just?
Yeah, go ahead, Matt,
The
please.
superior officers, was that just the addition of the administrative sergeant that kind of?
I think it's that. It's also I'm still on the books for a certain
You're on
time.
books and
Right. So there was ups and downs
Overlap.
throughout the years.
Yeah.
And it's up this year. It'll probably even itself out. You know, after I'm off the books and you're got rid of one guy.
Okay.
Mhm.
Anything about the academy?
Academy recruits are doing good.
Nice.
Believe their graduation date is in May. If I'm not mistaken, I believe it's the end of May. And they're all doing well.
Great.
They all passed CPR on Friday.
Oh, there you go. Good.
Nice.
June 1st? Okay. June 1st.
Good. All right, then 26, CENTCOM carries over for O&E.
That small increase there is the increase in contracts.
Yeah. Not
And
nominal.
I don't mean to back up, but same thing with the police department, other expenses. It's a minimal increase there with I think it's $300 from last year.
Yeah.
Just for contractual stuff.
On 26, for OEM, we're looking to get the band back together. So I'll keep the council posted on that. And as far as other, Dan, anything on OEM, other slight increase, but not
It's a
tremendous.
slight increase. It's really just carry forward from last year. Same thing, just annual kind of sort of increases.
So just to clarify, 252-101, I'm looking to bring Kenny Teets back to OEM. That was the band member that was out of the band. Now he's back in the band. So I'll be doing that after the budget gets approved. That's that increase.
Any possibility to adding any shared services to our dispatch?
I have not heard.
No. No scuttlebutt, but we'll keep our ears open.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, we already did fire on 26. Joe and Dan, and Jared, you want to go into the two capital items, one which we're rolling really into enterprise, but there's two capital. Council, you have the sheet, but in your email from Kat, you have an extensive pile of my capital. So in your email, there's information. Dan, maybe just refer to what you sent me, one on the vehicle and one on the drones on the capital, so on the capital sheets.
Sure, absolutely. So for the four-wheel drive vehicle, that's a part of our replacement program. That is in conjunction, I believe, with the enterprise agreement that we're looking to go into. So that's the replacement for that vehicle. The Durango that it's replacing has about 98,000 miles on it as of today. I think it's about, it's almost it's around a decade old. So it's had some electrical problems. It's starting to show some age. So it's time to do that. And then the drone docks, this is something interesting. I'm really interested to see how we could expand our drone program a little bit here, as you all know, and I know you're kind of sick of probably hearing me talk about it all the time. But I'm very proud of all the progress that we've made with the limited drone program that we have had. We've been successful in getting some grant funding and getting some extra equipment and things to expand our capabilities, and we've really been successful for the amount of time that we have had it, and it's really been something that has been in fact impactful. Even recently, as you know, I talked about the kidnapping case that we were involved in, and I'm thoroughly convinced that that victim is alive today because we were there with that piece of equipment, and the officers that were there attempting rescue were also taken out of harm's way because of it. And what I'm aiming to do is to expand the readily available component of the program. Right now we have it. It's in a vehicle. Myself and Detective X were the first pilots to be able to deploy the drone when it's needed. But with a dock, what this is a piece of equipment where it's kind of like a clamshell that opens up. You place it on a roof, and it opens up, and you can fly it from a computer really anywhere in the world. And you place them strategically around around town in different places where you think it's going to get the most use, and this makes it pretty much instantly available. You can deploy this thing right from a computer screen, and a pilot. We have two more pilots now. Detective Soroka and Officer Bellis both got their licenses recently, and what we wanted to do is get this to the point where we can have, if an emergency happens, whether it's a fire or somebody that we're searching for, or any type of emergency, even lesser things like car stops and things like that, if there's reason to do it, where it's readily available, where we can just kind of click a button and the clamshell opens, this drone goes up and goes right to the scene of the emergency. And it has about a 35-minute battery life, so it'll have to return after that. And that's why we'd like to have two, not only because we can kind of separate them in different locations if that's the best deployment option, but also because once it lands, it takes about 35 minutes to recharge. So if you have two, you can kind of use them in tandem so that you have kind of steady coverage of the area. This is something that has taken off all over the country. Just only a few years ago, maybe 3 years ago, this was sort of a novel thing, and it has proven itself so quickly that it's really become an essential piece of equipment, and we're looking to stay on the forefront as we have been with it. This is a good investment, and like I said, the drone that we have and in the capacity that we've been using it has already shown its value, saving lives. So I think by making it more readily available and having it readily available with these docks, it's going to be a tremendous asset, and I'm excited to see what we'll be able to do with it.
It's probably too young into like the program and stuff. And I know maybe the incident that you're referring to was probably one of the longer incidents that you used the drone.
Yeah.
But of the other incidents that you've used the drone, like, is it within that 35-minute battery life, or is it more like 15 minutes? Or...
So with what you do with the setup that we have one workhorse really drone. We just really have one that we use, but we have 5 sets of batteries. So because we can recharge it with the vehicle that we have, when you land it, you can hot swap the batteries, get it right back up within a minute or so. And as the other ones charge and you finally go through all the banks, by the time one set is charged, you're back to the kind of beginning. So with that, that's enough to keep us kind of indefinitely going.
Yep.
We just have to land to swap them out. So here, this is kind of the same concept where that 35-minute flight time, 35-minute recharge time will give us kind of that same capability, if that makes sense.
Yep.
But
I forgot about having multiple batteries and.
Yeah, that's the thing. When it's on a rooftop, you can't climb to the roof and switch the battery, so you do have to wait for it to recharge. But by having two, that's the best approach. And the other thing is that if it is a larger scale emergency, if it is something where we're struggling because of the battery life, we still have our other option, which is to go to the vehicle and drive to the scene and just maintain there. So by having both, we'll have the best of both worlds, so to speak.
What is the lifespan of these drones? Like the new drones that you buy? What's like the lifespan of them? How long do they last?
I guess it remains to be seen because it depends on maintenance, depends on at number of hours, I guess, just like a vehicle.
Okay.
But depending on how much you fly it and how well you maintain it, they've been lasting. Like I think it's hard to judge because it's technology, it changes so fast. But if I had to guess, you're gonna get at least 5 years. The one we've had now, we've had it for what, 3 years, I think. And it's showing no signs of stopping. So I expect personally, if I had to guess, it'd probably be about 10 years. Technology changes so fast though, maybe it might be obsolete by then. It's hard to really predict it, but
at least like probably like 5 years at least. Like,
yeah, I think
gotcha.
at least 5 years.
Yeah.
And the quality of construction is really there, at least with the brands that we have. So it's definitely and they're enterprise level drone. They're not the one you get at Walmart. They're built to last.
All right, then thank you for that. We're gonna go to page 29. Talk all things animal control.
Wait, before we go there for a second, can I just interject something about technology for the chiefs and chiefs consideration? I recently saw, and I may have mentioned this to one of you, I recently saw some technology that's being utilized in the tri-state area with body-worn cameras, in other departments being able to translate into multiple languages with two-way communication. So you speak English, it translates into another language for the person that you're speaking with, and then they speak in whatever language, and it translates back to English, back to English for you and records. And I just want to make note that in the town of Newton, according to the last census, and this continues to move, about 16.3% of our population is Hispanic or Latino, and 10% of our population is other, including Asian and other ethnicities. But the other stat that's interesting is that 89% of our households are primarily English-speaking households at home, but 11% are speaking a language other than English primarily in their home, and that language is Spanish. So I know that we have officers that are fluent, but my question is, I would imagine that not every shift we have officers that are on duty that are fluent conversationally or fluent in Spanish. Is that correct?
Right. Not every shift. No.
So I'm interested in, at some point, not again for this year, but perhaps for next year's capital budget, that we look into what that cost might be. And the technology that I quickly saw, it translated into like countless numbers of languages. And I'm not sure that's probably the most complete package, right? But I'm wondering if there's some other versions of translation services, since we already have the body-worn cameras, that if it's a software thing or if it's a camera upgrade. I don't know if there's a grant that's sitting out there, but in our efforts to continue to be top of our game in community policing and out in the community, I know our officers particularly that are patrolling areas on foot or bicycle or otherwise in some of our neighborhoods that have more Spanish-speaking residents than others. Maybe the technology would be helpful for something to just think about in the future.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's I know exactly what you're talking about. That is a tremendous advantage to have. That is something we struggle with constantly, is translation services, especially on scenes and in chaotic situations. This is actually kind of aligns in the next year or two with our kind of timeline to replace the equipment that we've had for a number of years. But in terms of the translation services, it's tremendous. And one thing, we do have 3 Spanish-speaking officers on staff. One thing that we run into, believe it or not, is Spanish is kind of a broad term for the language. Right. Many dialects, and not everybody realizes that. For example, we have much of our population here in Newton is Guatemalan, who speak the Quechua, I believe it's called, Quechua. dialect, and our officers that speak Spanish speak a different dialect, so they struggle. Even the ones that we have on staff. So translation is a constant battle for us, and it's very difficult to, you know, show up on a scene when it's, you know, there's an emergency going on and not be able to communicate, and to have to get on the phone or, you know, Google Translate or something, you know. And those of you in emergency services know it's a daily struggle practically.
Mhm.
And there's other, like you said, there's other languages as well. I know there's in Andover Township, there's a Polish speaking population. We actually have
Mhm.
one of our recruits in the academy is fluent in Polish, so that'll be helpful. But you know, we do run into other things beside just straight old, you know, high school Spanish type.
Yeah, we have a fair amount of Southeast Asian populations as well, and within those communities, the dialects are numerous as well. It would be interesting. I would be interested, and Dan, you answered my next question. Was I recall when we first got the grants and the dollars for the body worn cameras, and I think we were kind of one of the first in Sussex County, but it's likely that they are coming up on their end of life as well. So that was my next question. If we are going to, at some point, whether it's 27, 28, be looking to replace or update the cameras, it would make sense to also look at the translation services. Because I would imagine, based on New Jersey in general, and what I've read, our diverse population is going to continue to increase.
That's true. And, you know, body worn cameras, in-car cameras, stuff like that are actually advancing rapidly as well in technology. They're almost like, they operate on more like their own individual like cell phones now, where it's more about the software that runs on them and how they integrate. The reason they have this advanced translation technology is because of the AI that's built into it, which allows other things as well. AI is giving us a potential for a lot of efficiency and introducing some efficiency into the way that we do our police work. It's possible now that it can really reduce the amount of time that officers spend writing reports. I forget the statistic off the top of my head, but it was something like, you know, 18% of an officer's career is spent writing reports and stuff like that. And by introducing AI technology into the report writing workflow, that can really introduce a tremendous efficiency, kind of free up officers to do police work rather than, you know, documenting things. But that's the same technology that allows the translation, that allows a lot of the officer safety features like the GPS tracking and the live monitoring and different things. So it's translation, but it's so many other things, and really it comes down to the integration of AI, the things that our technology right now is not capable of. So it is definitely something that we should look into, and I think you know, I certainly plan to. I think it's probably something that we should look into with Millennium or one of our grant writing companies to try to assist us with some funds for in the future. Try to set a plan now and a strategy to get there. Because if we're able to implement that, that would really streamline our operations, make us more efficient, and allow the officers to focus on their jobs instead of, you know, typing on a computer screen.
It would be interesting also for the police department to kind of test the technology first, and then I think all of our emergency services. I was recently interacting with a family in town, all for good reasons, right? And they were really relying on their child to translate back and forth what we were trying to communicate to each other with the limited Spanish that I have. But I can't even imagine what that would be like in an emergency situation where moments are of the essence, and involving a younger family member or somebody under of age, or like, why would we even want to do that anyways to help translate? So I think about safety, I think about response time, I think about being able to service, you know, the people that live, work, and play here, and for all the reasons. So thanks for having that conversation.
Thank you very much.
All right, page 29, animal control. Talk staffing first, where we are currently full-time, part-time, and any issues in that regard, and then we'll straddle 29 and 30 as far as salary and wage and OE.
I'll leave staffing up to you, Dan.
Yep. So we have a full-time animal control officer, several part-time officers that assist. We'll be advertising for a full-time animal control officer soon. Just received a notice from our full-time employee that she'll be moving on, so we're gonna be preparing for that. I don't think there's any too drastic changes here from what we've been doing, to be honest with you. This is it's pretty straightforward.
The allocations are pretty much the same.
Yeah, there's not too many changes there. But yeah, it's just you know, the struggle that we have with animal control is the turnover. You know, we do have a fair amount of turnover that we you know need to address, but that's in terms of salary and wages and the budget end of things, it's pretty much carrying forward what we've been doing.
And then O&E is just a small increase from what we saw with mainly medical bills last year. Give us a little buffer.
Maybe with the clothing allowance, they have to be here for 6 months before you order them a shirt.
Any reason given why? Is it just moving on to bigger, better things, or is this most recent? Sure.
This was you know, personal opportunity that she had, you know, without going into personal areas, but
Yeah, sure.
yep. So it's just
Anything about the vets or the medical facilities that are favorable or, you know, assisting us in that endeavor? I know there's some challenges sometimes with the vets and the different animal facilities.
I think that everybody that we use is pretty open. I know Carol sometimes has a rough time with billing, but they're always pretty much willing to take us when they need us. You know, I would say rarely do we have to go to the animal hospital because we can't get in to a local vet.
yeah, we have a few that we've been working with. It's been working out.
Just the billing issue with the respective vets.
And towns.
Carol has in towns that you know, got a couple phone calls from Ginny last year looking for payments. But I think we rectified everything.
And then you forgot to mention any other animal control, but then I'll go backwards if there's any. No. You do have another key staff member retiring this year. Now, you didn't mention that the department will be looking for a new Carol, not that you can replace Carol, but sadly at some point this year.
I believe it's mid-year. Carol will be retiring. So we'll be posting that at some point. Well, Dan will be posting that at some point. And looking for her replacement.
Yeah.
God bless you.
Yeah.
Joey's gonna come back and be back.
Joey will be the
Don't get your hopes up.
Yeah, for those that don't know, Carol is our administrative assistant. That is like the key to smooth operations in the police department. She is like, this is a big change for us, and I'm still, you know, struggling to accept it, but I am happy for her that she's reached, you know, earned her retirement. So I'm happy for her. But that is a big loss for us. She is really she's a tremendous asset.
So we might have to hold her on retainer just so she can tell us where things are.
Yeah.
Lots of institutional knowledge.
Absolutely.
Anything for PD before we pivot to rec and pool? No. All right, if you don't mind sticking around just in case. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, rec and pool. Come on up.
Thanks, Jared.
Thanks. Thanks for coming. All right, well, we're gonna jump to page 30 in your budget document. We've already gone over animal control. Jen, anything on omnibus drivers? Or no?
No, they're status quo and
Alright.
everybody's happy and
All right.
nobody's planning on leaving or taking the ultimate retirement because they're both retired sheriff's officers.
Yeah.
And I told them they're not allowed to leave me
Right.
because the county is forever trying to find drivers.
Huh?
And I'm like, no, you're mine. You belong
Right.
to me. We have our seniors,
Yeah.
we have our group. We're happy to stay. So no changes there. By status quo.
All right, recreation, S and W, OE, and then we'll transition to pool. So we're on page 30. Any questions we'll start with Danielle first on the rec end of things. Danielle, why don't you just talk conceptually about, program services, the things that you and Anthony are working on, trying to increase some different programming. Just
So this year we added a lot more senior events in town. We were able to use the 2 community centers for the seniors. So we've been adding monthly events, just smaller things at their building. So that's been a great thing for them. We added the 5K this year too with the high school. So that was another good event that we added. We have our egg hunt coming up. So that's always good. We do our senior lunches, and Anthony is our new recreation assistant. So he's been training and doing a great job.
So Danielle, I know you are doing a lot more events with the seniors. So it doesn't look like you have any significant increase in your budget. Are you finding that you have to trim back any of the programs, or you think that what you have now is like sufficient and
Yeah, I've
you
been
know,
trying to keep it at a certain amount of people and then budget
Event.
for that.
Right.
Yeah. So it's been pretty affordable and able to keep it within the budget.
not that we have room to increase your budget, but I know from hearing from a lot of the seniors and stuff that you're doing a lot more, and it's good news.
Okay, how about pool? Everybody's favorite. Barbara, we got salary and wage on 30 and then on 31. Any general comments or observations on pool 2026 edition before we get into capital? Anything you want to tell the council about your exciting plans for?
This year, we're finally getting 3 new the giant big white and blue shade umbrellas, which is one of the biggest things people have been complaining about. So
that was part of last year's contribution, and they're coming in the next few weeks. And our lovely guys at DPW are installing them for us. Thank you so much. And then we had we almost doubled our participation in swim lessons last year from the year previous. So I was able to expand even farther this year, and we're able to now include adults that want to start taking swim lessons, because we've actually had a lot of people inquire about that, and older kids. So we kind of had to stop around level 4, which would be probably about 1 lap in the pool, right? So kids probably up until 8 years old, we've had to kind of stop because we didn't have enough staffing or enough time or scheduling. And this year we were able to expand that. So hopefully I'm able to grow the program even more this year. And that's what I'm working on, the big part right now.
All right, and then I gave the council in the email that Kat sent the application that you all approved for the concession stand. I wouldn't go into too much detail because they have the, information, but just conceptually, what's the theory behind expanding our concession area for the public?
Well, first, retention of people. So we get a lot of people that come to the pool and they're like, oh, we don't have food. We're going to go get food. And then they either don't come back, or either that day, or they don't come back in general because in their eyes, things are far, or they can't eat right outside of the pool, or they're asking us to order stuff for them. That doesn't work out too well. We have people with birthday parties that are always asking if we can do food. It's not a thing. So shade, swim lessons, and food are the 3 biggest things that people ask about since I've started. And this would be my 5th or 6th year now. And I think incorporating food to everything will basically bring us into a full service. We are the only open municipal pool or any really community pool in all of Sussex County. And I mean, just last year, we had over 11,000 people from residents to non-residents coming, and every year it's growing. So the more we can provide, I want to bring even more people. When people think of Newton, I want them to think of the pool as well.
Ellen, did you have any questions on?
What additional concessions are we looking to add and or, I mean, is it like ovens for instant kind of stuff? Or are we actually making things ourselves or is it mostly reheating? Or what are you envisioning?
People ask the most for burgers and hot dogs, actually. So ideally, it would be a grill for burgers. And then Keith, our lovely security guard, who has worked with food for many, many years, did you call them hot water dogs? So boiled hot dogs. But those are the big things. And then we actually have a pretzel maker from before my time that at the end of last year, we kind of were tinkering around and fixed a little bit. So we would like to do pretzels as well. Some warming up food, but mostly burgers, dogs, pretzels, nachos, and then all of like the snack goods that we have and ice cream, which would be a huge one.
So Barbara, is that like an open fire grill or is it like a flat iron?
Like a flat iron.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want the flames by the.
Where would the concession stand go down there?
Oh, I can show you. Good trying.
Where's that? In the-
Yeah, your email.
It'll be attached to the side.
I can-
It's attached to the side of the building, right off of where the men's
Yeah.
locker room is. So the giant open, so when you first walk into the pool, you don't have the first white big and blue umbrella. It'll just be extending off of the building towards.
Oh, in that direction. Oh,
Correct.
Close to the right. Down below, scope of work.
oh, okay.
Yeah, so, yeah, you have to see that.
Yeah.
Back at that, right?
Not many flowers.
And just for the council's edification, you know, it's a fairly robust expense, so for us, it's really contingent on the grant funding. Because
Mhm.
obviously nice to have, but in a tough budget year, I can't put it in the same boat as some of the other items that are in your capital budget, so we will, you know, do what we can on the funding end, and I'll let you know if we're successful. We applied for 100,000 on the grant. All right, so I'll keep you posted on that with Corey.
So Tom, quick question then, because it's under the debt authorized, but that's dependent on a grant, you're saying?
Yeah, because right now, the proposal is 200,000, which is too expensive, so I have to trim it down with Corey. And then we applied for 100,000, so I just put in a $75,000 municipal. In the
That was
hopes
the
we get the 100, you know what I mean? I'm hedging my bet right now, but
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to clarify, because so that what's sitting in the KIP is the difference.
what I put in is the municipal contribution towards the overall nut of the project.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
Sure. Any other questions for rec or pool? No? All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Anthony, good job.
Mhm.
Next year, you're gonna speak, Anthony. Just that's how it goes. You and Jared. The two of you are gonna be speaking next year. Exactly. That's what we're doing. We're doing a Mayday siren. Abandoned ship. All
Wait,
right.
that's not.
Anybody else
From the
coming?
pump station or?
They abandoned you. Sleeping. All right, let's bring up the
Thank you,
boys.
guys.
Thanks for coming. Now we'll go to Public Works Water Sewer. We invited 10, only 2 remain standing. They didn't. All right, thanks for coming. Appreciate it. All right, so we're a little ahead of schedule. All right, so then Jason, under front of Mike. Yeah, we lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people. Wow. All right, so we're gonna go to page 27. Road repair and maintenance, salary and wage, other. And then we'll go into everybody's favorite topic, which obviously is snow. So talk to us about road repair. Slight increase, nothing dramatic on against the charge on the S&W, slight increase O and E. See if the council has any questions on that. I'm sure there'll be more on snow, but any questions on 27 for road repair?
Are we handling the resurfacing list now, or is that a second?
We will do it later with Capital. Yeah, so right now, just straight up current stuff, and then we'll get into the road.
So no overtime is expected on those?
Overtime, S&W road repaired, is that just an allocation thing? That's a Tom and Jen question.
I don't have their numbers.
It was,
Have to check.
Yeah, to see where.
it's like 38,000 down to zero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very efficient road department.
All right,
No.
double check that for me.
Mhm.
Thank you.
I think it's good as is, that's fine.
Yeah.
We will check.
Not that we can add to it, but.
Yeah. We'll check. All right, how about snow? What's it been like in the snow world? Adam, Jason,
Very, very busy.
make sure you speak into the microphone so the people at home can hear you.
Snow, we've been very busy this beginning of 2026. Hopefully we're starting to slow down now, but we've gone through probably a lot more salt than we normally do. We are still good. We ordered ahead of time before it got too bad, so we've never really been low to the point where we were worried about it. If you've been down to Memory Park, you will see that there is quite a big pile of snow down there. Usually we try to utilize just park and ride, but with the staging for the sewer phase up there, there hasn't been as much room, so we've tried to spread it out evenly, so there's still parking both places, and we didn't want to completely bury roller hockey for when spring hit, so we tried to leave that open.
So you could see that I cut 60,000 from snow, 30 salary and wage and 30 in other expenses. I did a budget transfer into the snow line item in 25. And then subsequently wrote a check from the snow budget into a reserve for snow that the state allows us to put into a dedication by, not a dedication by rider, but goes into a snow trust account. This is one of the things that a lot of towns pushed for. So it allows me to put, when we don't have a lot of snow, whatever's left over, I can transfer out of the snow salary wage OE, put it into the trust. And for when we have bad storms like we just had, I could take it out of the trust. So it helps balance it. So I put a lot in there once we had that big storm. So we had like $60,000 from that, two previous storms, 20,000 from this other storm, and another 75,000 in salt that what I transferred absorbed. So and I'm just hedging my bet that, decreasing another 60, we still got money left in that trust. So that's the reason why I was able to, out of that 500,000, cut in, 60 grand right from the get-go.
All right, on page 28, we have stormwater, we have recycling, and then we start buildings and grounds, so let's see if there's anything on 28.
Nothing in recycling.
The S&W recycling.
Yeah, that's going to be charged to a grant. I moved that out of there. That was another one of the cuts that I made because we have a recycling tonnage grant. So I'm just going to charge it to there.
I like the plans for the recycling center expansion.
Yeah, we're gonna do that in capital, but yeah, it's a great plan.
Yeah.
All right, anything on 29? We'll carry 28 into 29. We see buildings and grounds, OE, shade trees, same.
Since Dan is here, maybe a status report on the fire museum?
Sure, we have,
Yeah, you gotta do the mic.
Yeah, just real quick. So, we have we had a, application put in for, designation of a landmark. The reason that we did that is because we've struggled so much to find, appropriate grants for a project like this that, will cover something that's not a landmark, that we're constantly not meeting the, either the application, guidelines or just not going to be successful. So thankfully, working with Tom's office, we were able to get an application put in and submitted. I think it was Jessica Caldwell's office that assisted us with that. So we're just waiting for the outcome of that. That I think will be key to finally qualifying for some grant funding to get this done. Certainly on my bucket list, and I'd love to see it done. But it is one of those things where it's most appropriate for a grant project if it can be done, and this will open up some doors for us. So that's where we're at.
Thank you. On 29, maybe Adam, Jason, talk about vehicle maintenance as far as your crew. And then Tom can talk about vehicle maintenance as far as the budget vis-a-vis enterprise. So why don't you start off with who's doing what, how it works, you saving money, losing money, talk about conceptually vehicle maintenance after this period of time since we last spoke about it.
Sure, I feel it's been working out pretty well so far as of right now. We typically have someone in the maintenance shop, Phil, usually 2 days a week doing stuff, maybe 3, depending on what kind of things are going on. I believe that going over some numbers with him earlier, it's been almost 500 days now since we've kind of implemented it, and looking at like the PD side of it, because it's harder to tell with DPW because we did a lot of our own things ourselves to begin with. It's just now the ease of it, and we kind of do broaden and go a little more with our machines and stuff like that. But for example, with the police vehicles, we've done about 52 oil changes since we've came in line with the service, and you're pretty much spending like $19 an oil change per police vehicle. So I mean, you're cutting that price in half or more, depending on sending it out. Another example, we have one of our trucks that had a whole 4-wheel drive and brake issue that I got a quote for like $5,500 to repair. We did all the work in-house, $1,500 is all it costs and parts, and we did everything that they were going to do for the $5,500. So I mean, I feel like you're getting it quicker because if there's an emergency, obviously we're going to bring it right in and do it. We got the 2 days a week where we're scheduling stuff. The police do come down for fluid checks. I don't. I think that every day, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, they come down for fluid checks in the morning. If Phil's not there, one of the other guys goes ahead and checks it out. And whenever Phil's not in there, he's a regular DPW employee doing DPW work, and he's doing everything that everyone else is doing. And on days where he's not there and we have work scheduled, that can be done by our other guys. Our other guys are also, doing the oil changes, brakes, changing tires, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, give the council and the public, a list of, what are the top 10 things we're doing? Like what equipment do we have, and what are the most common things that we're doing?
Sure. I mean, for the most of it, it's a lot of oil changes, fluid checks, fuel pumps on vehicles, brakes, tires, things like that. But we're also, obviously doing maintenance on our machinery too. So our sweepers, we're doing work on our backhoe, our loader, pretty much anything we have that we're capable of doing ourselves, we are doing everything in-house.
Or answer it this way.
Yeah.
What can't you do, and where do those vehicles go?
Well, the only thing that we can't do is more of our larger tandem single axle trucks. Currently, right now, we have 3 single axles I mean, we can do some things to them, but we can't do like the engine work and stuff like that, or the brakes and things like that. So you got our two tandems, our three single axles, our two flushers, and our recycling truck. Those are really the things that we can't really do too much on. There is some things with our sweepers that we're obviously not capable of doing too. We need to have the company come in and do work in-house. But for the most part, all of our regular vehicles, regular trucks, machinery, small engine stuff, we're doing everything ourselves currently.
I think the sweepers are going to get a workout, like looking at how much.
Yeah, well, currently right now we have three Elgin Pelican sweepers. One's getting old and it's getting to the point where it's probably the next few years it's going to have to go. But we kind of got it almost replaced in a way with the iBank thing from a couple years ago. And we still haven't received our vac sweeper that we have through the iBank, which that will be done late spring this year. So we'll have another sweeper to add to it. That was also going to be great for stormwater because it's going to have the vac, so we can go in and suck the basins out, and it's going to be huge for that. I'm looking more forward to that for the stormwater than it would be for the sweeping aspect of it. But this one won't be, you know how like if you've seen our sweepers out and about, they're all the three-wheeled ones that can do the tight turns. This one's going to be like a regular truck with the big thing. So it's not going to be for like the tight areas, the cul-de-sacs, the smaller roads. It's going to be more for long stretches or stormwater. So.
And then what about enterprise? And I'll bounce back to that.
So you can see that I did cut the budget down, because as we start replacing these vehicles, the vehicle maintenance is gonna go down. So if we're in a 3-year rotating basis with these, with police vehicles, DPW, of course, we don't have to do as much work with them. We can do oil changes, we can do brakes, you know, the basic stuff. We can also have rolled into the price to have them do, they have like 900 service centers in some areas. So we literally can just drop it off and have them do basic, if we wanted to, for cents on the dollar. If we wanted to, might make more sense just to have it in-house. I think that's just something we do have to feel out, with the staffing, whether or not we want to do something like that.
I'll also add into the whole having the lifts and the vehicle maintenance. It's also been key for snowstorms because when anything's had issues or broken down in the storm, we pull them right in and we work on them right there, make the hydraulic, whatever we need. So it's been great for that. Besides guys crawling under trucks that are snow's dumping off on them and laying in salt and things like that. So it's been nice to have for that.
Yeah, and one other thing, not for JP or Sandy, but I was looking to start doing the first aid squad maintenance this year. So that's something that we talked about to help the first aid squad, you know, to provide the labor, let them pay for the parts most likely. But, you know, we were trying to work with them to help them save some money to assist the first aid squad after the budget's adopted. So that was one thing that came to us from the squad, and I thought it was appropriate, you know, to help them out if we could.
Especially since the director almost lost a digit, but.
It's here. Starter got put in, don't worry. Is it?
All right, so we'll continue on with Adam and Jason. Nothing on 29. We've done 30. 31. Pool parks. Now we're getting more into the maintenance of parks and play. On 31, we have salary and wage. Who comes out of that one? Brock. Okay. And then other expenses, slight increase on parks and play other. And then you see celebration of public events. We're still doing the same 25,000 that we did in the adjusted budget in 25. Reserve for tax appeals, which has nothing to do with Adam and Jason, but it's at the bottom of your page 31. Page 32. Anything anybody want to say solving the utility costs for America, or if that utilities are on page 32? And then statutory, that's Tom Ferry, but utilities are what they are, sadly.
And I cut those down too, which is gonna come back.
Yeah,
I want me.
maybe it'll get better. So, maybe not.
And just a note, I mean, we've done audits, utility
Yeah.
and energy audits and all kinds of audits over the last few years. I mean, I don't know that there's much more to do there.
Yeah, we've done as much as we can, honestly, so.
Yeah, pretty much every light we have in town has been converted over
Yeah,
to
swapped out.
LED,
Yeah.
lower cost and.
Next page, all right, so nothing current public works, and then we'll go to capital. So if we go to your capital sheets, bid sheets, and then also in your email today, back up on these. We'll start with the paving projects. We got the 251,797 edition. Has an offset of 176,797. You have the 81,527 version with an other fund of 16,527, and then you have a 395,000 with an offset of 115. And you have a memo from Corey dated February 4th relating to the different streets, and then you see them at the bottom. So you have Diller Avenue, Stewart, Harrison, Center Street, Cherry, Donald Avenue, Patterson, Miriam, New Hampshire, Linwood, Maple, Cedar. So it's pretty robust. Maybe just talk to the council about the excitement that is other utility companies doing work that necessitates paving. If you want to refer back to his memo on the item 3, but the Elizabethtown work, if you could.
Sure, so as you've all seen all over town, Elizabethtown has been redoing gas main. They have a certain criteria on how old the pipe is, so they have this whole master plan in the next few years of all the different areas they had to do by a certain time frame. Areas, some of the areas you were looking at are some of the areas they are doing work. We negotiate with them to get as much of it paved on their dime as possible. And whatever they will give us, we're trying to match to finish the rest of the roads. Say if they're only do half, we're trying to match to do the other half. So it's a new road and we're better off than we were prior to them coming in to do the work.
Yeah, and Adam, I'll jump in just.
Yeah.
So if you look at Corey's memo, Diller Avenue and Stewart is approximately the 251,797 that has the offset, which is the municipal aid grant program. Item 2 is resurfacing of Harrison Center and Cherry. Rough estimate 81,527, because that includes the 16,527, which is restoration funds obtained from the sewer contractor. And then item 3 is resurfacing from Corey's memo, which is, I'll just read it. It says additional roadways that are recommended: Donald, Patterson, Miriam Ave, New Hampshire, parking lot, Linwood, Maple, Cedar. Miriam, Patterson, and Donald were all opened by Elizabethtown Gas for gas main installations in the past year and are in need of final restoration in order to provide a fully paved roadway. It's Corey's recommendation that Elizabethtown compensate the town for paving one half of each roadway, and we are responsible for the second half. So Elizabethtown estimate to pay the town is $115,000, which you see in your other funds, and that total is $395. So that's how we got to what you see in the capital based on.
I got a question.
Uh-huh.
You list Patterson Ave, but I don't see Patterson Place, which is all torn up. From the gas company.
No, that's part of, well, I guess the gas company's also doing work out there.
The gas company and sewer phase.
Sewer was our sewer main's currently in the process of being done out there. And then gas company's doing more work out there. Well, that will be the next step in negotiating them for the next part of that.
So I know they've torn up the curbs on 2 sides.
Yeah. And just so you know, like I've seen too that they've torn up Spring Street pretty good in the last year. They are going to be paving that curb to curb. The gas company will be.
Thanks. All right. Yeah, go ahead, JP.
My only suggestion to this list, unless there is planned gas or sewer work, is to perhaps include what I call Sussex Street Part 2, which is the cul-de-sac off of Patterson Ave in like the 50s section. It's the oldest unresurfaced road. It was last resurfaced in '93. It's a low traffic road, but since Patterson Ave comes right through there, it's a relatively short street. There only 8 houses on it. Might be worth adding to the project at the time, unless you know of work that's going on in that.
I can check. Jason, can you check with Corey on that?
Yeah, I'll check with the gas company.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
What about the stretch on Gardner from Merriam up to, what is that, I guess, Dogwood? That's pretty bad.
So we approved,
Do they still?
we approved that last year. I assume it's just waiting for sewer.
Yeah, it's just.
It's just waiting for sewer. Okay.
Yeah, they were behind schedule because of the winter.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And then Adam, walk through what you emailed me that the council has a copy of in their emails. Other capital requests, security, we'll go one by one. So the security request, 125,000.
Sure. The first one for security is for security down at DPW. I'm looking to get, much like here at Town Hall and PD, Convergent to come in and do the card readers on the doors. So it's easy in and access to get in and out, as well as sensors on all the garage doors. So we know if they're opened or when they're opened. And we have had issues where power blip and the garage will open up and it's open all night and no one knew it until like the cops. So they drive through, check things out, notice the garage door is open. They call me. I'm like, why is the garage door open? Things like that. Also, that includes, I'm looking to have card access reader gate put on Strawley Boulevard. So that way, if the cops need to get through quick, if we're hauling stuff to recycling or doing work in the park, we can easier get through. If ACO needs to get through because they're right there, that way it's not open, it's safer, and we can still have access to it to do municipal work, get to the parks and do things like that. So that's another part of that one.
And how about the Kubotas? I know there was a question the council had on that. You're requesting 2 new RTV X2 utility vehicles.
Correct. So you've probably all seen Brock driving around in his Kubota RTV out there over the years. It is, I believe, 22 years old at this point. It is old. It's worn out. It's having more and more issues. So he was requesting to get a new one. And I know we are constantly at DPW when we're doing work at roller hockey or in the parks or recycle. We're constantly borrowing his to do topsoil work or using the bed and doing all sorts of stuff or going out to check the in the swamp for beaver dams and any issues out there. So the thought process behind that was get a new one for Brock, get one for DPW. That way we each have one when we need it and use them at, because a lot of times we're trying to use them at the same time, and especially when the weather's nice and we're out there doing a lot of work. That's the main thought process behind that.
Speaking of thought process, that's a good segue into the Turf Tank robotic paint machine. Adam's favorite of the year. So go ahead, Adam, explain that to the council.
So we are looking to get a Turf Tank robotic paint machine. It uses GIS. So once it memorizes the football field, you don't have to go out every spring and spend 2 days lining it up perfectly and making all the measurements perfect. It can do the football field, it can do the baseball fields, the foul lines, so and takes away the human error of the curvy lines. Soccer fields, it could repaint the basketball courts, it could, paint at roller hockey, it could do parking lots. So once it memorized the parking lot, it can go through and do the parking lots and the numbers. And
Michelle wanted to know if it can paint a green line for the parade.
If
Is
we
that
had it
possible?
and we
Is that
GIS'd it, it absolutely could.
Interesting, right?
Absolutely,
Very
100%.
interesting. That
And
was a question I had.
so this is it's not us purchasing it, it's us almost renting it, leasing it. Therefore, none of the maintenance, anything breaks, they would fix it. And it's included with $3,000 worth of paint a year to come in and do that. And it can also, with a subscription like that, it also makes it so you get one or two, I can't remember, logos. So like say you wanted to put the Newton Brave head in the middle of the football field, they could program that and they could paint it right in the middle of the football field. And once you GIS'd it, it could do it in the same spot every time you go and do it.
I think there's also
Partnering with the
wages.
school.
Well, yeah, so Brock was like, that means I can I can set it to paint the lines while I'm doing pool work and I don't have to worry about it, which
Like a
theory
Roomba.
is true.
Yeah,
I like
So
to
man hours,
parking lot
lowers
ideas
man
because
hours.
it's hard for us to keep the parking lots. It's time consuming. But I mean, if we could start doing it and GISing it, it would be much, much easier.
There's a nice YouTube on it.
Yeah, it's Adam's favorite, right, this year, you would say?
It was neat. Yeah, it was really cool. Yeah.
All right, landscape equipment, 50,000, trailer mowers.
So currently, right now, our landscape trailer is also extremely old. It's starting to rot out on spots. The door that the mowers drive up is having issues. So I'm looking to get a new trailer, and I'm also looking to replace our 2 zero-turn mowers as well, which we talked about selling them on Gov Deals, the old ones. But one of the issues we're having with they're older zero turns. They're increasingly harder to get parts for. And now that we no longer have Campbell small engines in town, there's no Bobcat dealer anywhere near here. So we're looking to switch to a different brand of a closer dealer, so that way it's easier to get parts and to do things for.
Trailer for single axle, 40,000.
So we currently do not have a trailer that we can haul any of our larger equipment. It's the one we have is, I don't know, it was old when I started working here 19 years ago. So I'm not sure what age it is, but it's beat up. It doesn't work. Everything's rotted out on it. So like if we're gonna do work completely other side of town and we have to bring the paver out there, we have to drive the paver out there, and it takes half a day to get it out there. Or if we have to go to do work, like say we need to get the backhoe to Morris Lake to do something, we have to drive it out there, which also takes half a day. So we have no means to get places with our bigger equipment.
You're looking to replace a single axle dump truck?
So that one we were looking to, so currently right now we have 2 tandems and 3 single axles. This one's the only one we still have left that doesn't have like the stainless steel body. I think it's 2007. It's one of the older ones. It's seen better days. The body's rotting out of it from the salt and all that stuff. So what I was looking to do with this one was talk to Enterprise, sell it, and then go for more like a Mason dump hook lift like we just recently got. So that way we can use our chipper body, we can use other bodies so it's more versatile. Because really the only thing we use this one particularly for right now is snow. So it's kind of, you can't really haul too much with it because the body's starting to rot out on it. So you don't want to haul something if you're going to Brain to haul 5A because it'll start falling through the body all over the road. So that's the thought process. I wanted to try to incorporate something smaller, more versatile, more use that we can use for everything else, since we don't really need that many of the bigger trucks. The 2 tandems, the 2 single axles are plenty enough for what we need to haul when we need to haul. So.
Thank you. And then Babe Ruth Field upgrades is 1.2 million. I'll just reference this before you jump in. So in your email today, you have the engineer's preliminary cost estimate from Suburban. That includes mobilization, site clearing, preparation of existing soil, sand, topsoil spreading, clay infield mix, drainage improvements within ball field pending DEP approval, chain link fence 8 feet high, chain link backstop, modular block dugout 10 feet by 32 feet, ball field appurtenances, bases, foul poles. That's 975,000. Relocation of existing scoreboard, 10,000. Aluminum bleacher with concrete pad, 2 of those, 30,000. Reorientation of existing asphalt basketball courts, 150,000. So the total base bid and alternate bid total is 1.2 million. That is the application we're submitting to Congressman Gottheimer this year for a grant. And then if and when we hear from Senator Kim and Senator Booker, because it's usually about the same timing for the congressional projects, we're going to submit the same thing. We're actually submitting Sparta Pump Station and this project as well for funding. So we're trying to offset that. Dr. Piccarello is very excited. He's going to do a letter of support, and then the board president might be doing one for us as well. And I asked Danielle to get a 3rd application, letter of support for the Babe Ruth Field upgrades. All right. And then you have this estimate in your packet. And then also in your packet, your email, which has been previously submitted, was the recycling center upgrades of 210,000. That's 143 debt, and then 67 other, which we already had allocated. So I don't know, maybe council's seen it, but maybe just conceptually talk about the things that you and Deb were looking to do there.
Sure, so you're gonna see. Go up to Park and Ride and there's a little turnaround up top. The entrance to the recycling center would then be up top. You'd come straight through. There'd be two different layers. The top layer, you come through, you'd be going out the exit. I mean, the entrance now was where you would be exiting. That way to keep flow moving, it's a little bit easier to get to all the containers. And then down below, with her food waste grant, we're gonna accept like brush and things like that on the bottom side, so you can separate on the bottom side and do more things like that. It's gonna be, I'm excited about it. It's gonna be cool. But it's gonna make flow better. We're gonna be taking more stuff. It's just overall, I think it's gonna bring more value. I mean, everyone seems to love the recycling center. That's probably the thing I get the most compliments on around town. So, and I mean, Deb's obsessed with recycling, so she's seen all the things that we've added into it with her going, you know what I mean? So it's definitely her passion, and she's we're just there to make her vision become a reality.
And yeah, a lot of months went into the planning.
Oh, yeah.
Multiple
Absolutely.
revisions, estimates, so you
Absolutely.
you all put a lot of time into that, and the council has a copy of that plan previously. So before we jump to water sewer, anything on public works end of things before, and obviously the boys are here, so.
One question with the RTVs, so presently, there. I believe you qualified as one, but community development has one assigned to it.
Correct.
Is that one that is currently utilized, could be utilized? What's the utilization?
We do utilize it, but it's not heavy duty, so we can't do a lot of the work that we use the other ones for. Like, it's got a plastic bed, it doesn't hold much. It's a manual lift. So it doesn't have the same power to do the work where you're actually using stuff out of the bed, whether you're doing soil or you're doing, clay and things like, or doing, things like that. So we do utilize it, but usually for the smaller stuff, we don't use it to actually do the work. We use it to like get us, if we're bringing tools up to roller hockey, we'll use it there. If we have to run over the recycle to bring some things over. So it is used, but it's not the same kind of, weight limits and things that we do when we're using it for work out in the parks.
My assumption would be that for community development purposes, it has a much more limited use than what you guys might use it for. So one thing that might be worth considering is in purchasing these, to acquire a model that can do what you need it to do, but then is not necessarily overpowered maybe just with one of them, one that could also serve as a community development RTV. And then maybe use that sort of as a midstream replacement for the one we already have, offload it, see if there's some return we can get to then fund this, because it seems a little silly to me to have three.
That's right. Yeah.
And one's underutilized and doesn't serve the same purpose.
I actually have two different quotes on a heavier duty one that one, so those have to go.
Yeah, that's fair.
No,
We don't
I
even
think
say
it would be
no.
better. I mean, like, even if they're using it, I think it'll be better than what,
Right.
I think that would be fine. Mhm.
All right, we'll switch gears to utility if that's okay.
Yep.
Helen, you okay with going water sewer?
I'm good.
All right, we have new pages that Kat will graciously pass out to everyone that we've updated. Living, breathing document.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh.
Those are the expense pages that have been updated real time. That's how we roll. As far as revenues, we're on page 37 of your budget. You tell me. So on page 37, surplus anticipated, 1,056,931. Rents water, 2.8 million, rent sewer, 1.7. Miscellaneous water sewer revenue anticipated, 140,000. Interest and costs on assessments, 3,519. Then you have capital reserves, 200,000. And then you see your total at the bottom, 6,200,450 is your total on the revenue end. I'm sure we have questions on that. These out. Right, if not, We'll focus on expenses. Now, these would be your new pages, please. And you'll see expenses, water sewer salary and S&W, 1,441,234. And then we go into operating. So I'll let the council digest, pun intended, these first. And then we'll see if there's any questions for Adam and Jason. And Jason will take over this part of the program and has a lot of great things to say. So we're very excited about that.
Did you want me to talk about the status of the unbalance and operation?
Yeah, and then
Okay.
Jason has a few things he wants to say.
Okay.
Good. Tom, you go first.
You want me to go? Okay, so just to give you a quick update on the revenues, we had a slight shortfall of $15,000. We anticipated 6.182. We got 6.166. Had to do with we anticipated sewer connection or water and sewer connection fees a little higher than what actually came in. We started off the year with a fund balance of 3,477,000. We utilized 1,206,000 in the budget, but we only brought in 960,000. So we took more cookies out of the cookie jar than we put in. So our fund balance went from 3,477,000 down to 3,232,000. Not a big earth-shattering number. I wouldn't have to say we would recommend doing a water and sewer rate increase or anything. It's kind of like a non-brainer to keep it the same.
So on the point of the rates, there has been an ongoing question from a concerned resident regarding the minimum charge, particularly for those with lower usage rates. And a couple meetings ago, we had asked to see if there was any projection we could do if a policy change were to go into effect where you removed that to incentivize lower usage. Has any work been done in that area, or do we have any numbers as far as that goes?
Well, I mean,
where we're at is the budget is based on current revenues and rates to adjust in the direction of that concerned resident, although I do appreciate his feedback. Then we run the risk of cannibalizing the system. We can look into that, but I would be very cautious about adjusting rates in that direction because this budget is based on existing rates, revenues that have come in, and we're trying to prevent a situation where we have to increase the rates going forward because we've adjusted here and now we have to raise there, like at some point. And Tom, you jump in, but
Yeah.
that's the trepidation we have at the staff level is it, and especially with the 24 million in projects or whatever we're up to right now. Not looking at rates, not adjusting, trying to get these projects done and completed before we assess or reassess the rate structure because we're concerned about the long-term trajectory of where this would go. So not saying we don't want to do that, but I'm saying I don't know if the timing is quite there yet until we can get some of these projects over and done with the engineers. That's just our assessment.
Right, and I wasn't reading this as if that had been done. I was just wondering if there had been any investigation to this point yet.
How about you, Jason? Why don't you talk about the things you're working on?
So everything is going pretty well at the water and sewer plant. We are looking to upgrade a couple of things, which we'll talk about in the capital. We're also looking at getting a part-timer that will float from water, sewer, and even DPW. When anything comes up, we have an extra body. The sewer plant does require somebody there. We have to manually pump every hour, which kind of takes away a more skilled individual on the road just to go back and push a button to pump. So part-timer would be ideal. We'll have a nice floater between all the departments for any projects that we have going on. We have a lot of go-getters this time around. We have a lot of people interested in furthering their careers and going to school for getting their licenses for water and wastewater. So we did increase that to hopefully get them moving in the right direction of their licenses.
And we do anticipate Joe Carr retiring this year.
Yes.
And Joe White.
One more test, and if he passes, he'll be the next wastewater operator. And then we have one with a C who wants to further, and then one who completed his intro who would also like to further his career too.
That's good for succession planning. I think having a trained staff that's multifaceted is smart for succession planning. Is there a way to automate the need to have someone actually push a button every hour, Jason?
I don't think so. The way it's designed, you're kind of there to push a button. You're also listening to the pump. It can get airbound or sludge bound. So then you'd have to turn it off and then take it apart to fix the issue.
It may be a future project down the road.
Yeah.
We kind of have to catch up with what we have going on before we get to that point, so.
Jason, anything on operating? Otherwise, I'm going to pivot to some capital questions.
I don't really think so.
No. Before we get into the 2026 capital, why don't you talk about the grant application with Suburban, right, for the readers? And just, what we're trying to accomplish, get away from old technology to new technology. I know the council is always appreciative when we do that, and the public would find it interesting as well.
Yes, we're trying to upgrade our water meter system, which we're trying to go to a ultrasonic cellular, which you just new meter in, and then it'll go right to Jackie in the software. We won't be taking 2 weeks or 2 weeks every 4 times for reading meters. And they're more accurate. They have a pressure sensor that can send an alert if you lose pressure, which would be like maybe you have a leak on your line. They have a temperature sensor, so less frozen water meters because people will get alerted. There's an app where homeowners can view their water. I think it's updated every 15 minutes. So they'll get every 15 minutes, they'll get their own water meter info. Any finals, Jackie can just pull from the every 15-minute database. I'm excited for that if it goes through. Water meters are sometimes a big pain in, but upgrading those will help a lot with the accuracy and
accuracy and kind of free up people.
Yeah, we have to pull 3 people for 2 weeks just to read. We are having software issues. Last time we read the meter and then the software is saying nobody read it. So then we kind of have to read it twice. And
so it's $2 million of it is principal forgiveness. The other $1 million is 75% of it is 0% loan. So basically, to do that is $250,000 that comes out of the operating.
Bring that on. And then just anything in reference to the previous reading issues that went on. I know Michelle had some questions about that and how that was resolved.
So the software we're using is municipal software, MSI. The tax and the water program have an old platform. So they recognize that and they can't upgrade it at all. So this year we're using their Edmunds bought out MSI for those programs. So we're gonna be transferring over into an Edmunds platform, and it's a newer software. So once we get that all implemented, it'll read all that stuff from from all those machines, and we won't have a problem like that again.
Would there be, going back to upgrading all the meters, would there be a report that like, hey, if, I don't know, like the average usage for this area got over a certain amount, a certain threshold, and that, would that possibly signify like, hey, there's a water main break somewhere that hasn't peaked to the surface, or it happens during the day and people aren't home to realize that they.
Not quite, unless
Oh.
it's in their home. It has to go through the meter, or I'm guessing if it's a pressure, it reads before and after in the unit. So maybe it could help on the service line, but I don't think you would get such a main unless it was a big break, and then you would have surface water as well.
I was just curious.
Okay, so why don't you segue that into what we've been doing that, for unaccounted for water and leak detection. That's a good segue you guys have been working on.
Yeah, so we got a free demo of leak loggers from NJ Water actually, and they found 2 leaks for us. One on Pine Street and one on Birch. The Pine Street one actually surfaced, so we were able to fix that one sooner. The Birch one ended up being 2 leaks, a main and a service leak. So we did get quotes for our own loggers, which could be set up during the day at any time, and you can leave them out for a day, pick them up, get the info, move sections. So I think it'll help with leak detection more often. You'll be able to do it literally whenever. It's
pretty much leak detect all year long.
Yeah,
Lot.
we'll be way more on top of leak detection with the logger system.
And a million times more accurate.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, and then Jason, why don't you just walk through what you emailed me and that the council has a copy of in the Capitol garage, security, New Hampshire. And then they have a memo from Dave on the lead service lines that I'll refer to.
Okay. The garage, right now we have a brand new 2025 Flusher vac truck that had to be winterized because it's about 2 feet too long to fit in DPW's garage. Yeah. So we're looking to get that kind of inside and in a like a heated facility, so we don't have to winterize it every winter. Our sewer CCTV camera is losing its storage facility with the new generator project going on at the sewer plant. So we're looking to find a home for that. It does have water in that as well. We have 3 sheds that we store most of our stuff inside. One is, I don't know how the wind storms haven't blown it over. It's pretty bad. We have a bunch of fire hydrants that sit outside, which have rubbers in the seals. We have 2 mini excavators that sit outside. We'd like to free up DPW's bay with our old flusher, so they have room for their equipment. We have a couple pickup trucks that sit outside, which isn't really a big deal, but one of them is the utility body, which has the water tools that sit in the bed, which get rusted, so we have to frequently lubricate them. That's this same with like the water fittings. We have plastic pipe for our sewer mains that get weathered and sun exposed, which then get brittle and don't last as long as they're supposed to.
How about security and cameras?
Currently, we have no cameras at the wastewater treatment plant. We just have a fence. We're looking to get some cameras there, and as well as the door.
Swipe.
Yeah, door swipes. And some doors replaced. There's a couple that have missing a couple inches on the bottom from salt, and they're metal, so they just get weathered and rust. A lot of people come in through the sewer plant facility thinking it's a shortcut to Memory Park, so we kind of have to catch them before they get too far and kind of tell them to go around the block and back. We have had graffiti at the buildings, so that's always fun to clean off. We're looking to get some cameras at High Street Pump Station as well. There's none up there. We had some issues with one of the doors not closing properly, and somebody was walking around inside the pump station. That's it.
All right, and then New Hampshire Street water main upgrade.
We're looking to upgrade New Hampshire Street's water main. It is currently a 4-inch, like to make it an 8-inch. The pressure there is very low. I meant to get those numbers, but I forgot to get those. We usually like doing our own water main projects, but with the way this one is, we'd have to do a temporary main because of the rock. So we'd be taking out water main and putting it in the same trench. With temporary water mains brings a lot of like in people's homes for the connection if need be, if we can't get it outside. And then you're also on a time limit because you have to do it before winter. Like the last one we did on Mason, we were able to complete Mason main, let it sit for the winter, and then we finished it the next summer because it was all underground. So we're looking for about 1,100 feet of 8-inch, 2 fire hydrants, and the one fire hydrant isn't that old there, so we're going to keep that to repurpose it if need be, if they get hit or damaged. There's about 30 water connections, which will help with the lead service line program as well.
Speaking of, council has a memo from Dave Simmons on lead galvanized steel water service line dated March 1st. So that's in your email today as well. Anything you want to just generally say about that? Otherwise, the council has the details in their memo.
No, I think Dave did a very well job on 435 services a year to catch up to the 2031 deadline.
Yeah. So that is water and sewer. Questions for Adam and Jason? Helen, any questions from your end before council here?
Just, I'm assuming this is the case, but both have talked about updating the security. I'm assuming that we would go out and do that all at once so that we have economies of scale, similar equipment.
Yes.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
And then while we're at it, are there any other properties, facilities that don't have cameras currently? Are we the pool, concessions, any other buildings, any other?
Well, this is just for water sewer we're focusing on. I don't know.
Right, but I mean, while we're talking about security cameras, just we can talk more about that, I guess, later. Just wanting to think in terms of economies of scale.
Water pump stations don't. The water station doesn't, and then the wastewater treatment plant doesn't.
Okay, yeah, so the only other things that don't have cameras that are water and sewer related are the pump stations themselves, which they're small,
Pretty
underground. They're not. The other one maybe we'd like to get something on when it's finished would be the Sparta pump station, being where it is located.
Yeah.
But for the most part, those are the big areas that need cameras.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything water sewer? No? All right, why don't you guys just hang out and if there's any questions from the public. The only other pages that Tom and I have, jumping to item 8 on our agenda, you have the vehicle pages 41, 42, 43, 44. Town debt is 45, water sewer debt 46, and then the employee listing 47 through 51. And that is, as they say, it for us. So I know there were some questions just in my notes, tax appeals. I got to get some information from Scott about the ones that are still hanging around. Health insurance, that's Jen for 2027. COA 180-219, that affordable housing plan one. I got to ask Jess, but I think that's already been spoken for, but we'll check on that. Fire incident vehicle as part of enterprise, right? And road repair overtime, Tom and Jen got to double check that. And then any additional paving with Corey that John Paul had brought up for those 8 houses. That's my cheat sheet, right? Anything I'm missing? Right, I was taking notes on what you guys had.
Yeah.
Right, so those are open-ended. Hold on, Wi-Fi is off here. Let that reconnect. Ellen, you can still hear us, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's the laptop. Okay. There we go. Back to the side. So I don't know, Mayor, if you want to open it to the public, we have a few virtual and in person, if you want to do that.
Yeah, we'll open this portion now to the public. If anybody wants to say anything, and everybody can have their say afterwards. So.
Neil Flaherty, 154 Sparta Avenue. I'd like to first thank Tom and his staff and the professionals, as well as the council members, for the work that was put into this budget. As a taxpayer, I'm ever happy to hear that there's going to be an increase, but after sitting through and examining the budget, it is very understandable and I'd have to say necessary. So I'm not happy, but I'll accept that. As far as being a concerned citizen, I still feel that work needs to be done, and maybe when the new upgrade in the meter system as well as the software comes about, that is the time to look at the water and sewer rates. When you get charged for a minimum of 4,000 gallons and use less, and then the following quarter, that difference between what you actually used and the 4,000 gets counted again. You're getting charged twice for the same water, which I think is not really fair and doesn't promote conservation. As one of the homeowners who is not on town sewer, also being charged for the total use of water, you're paying, at least in part, for a service that you don't use. I understand that everyone should pay something to the general upkeep of and improvement in the sewer system, but to be charged on a per gallon basis beyond any minimum really strikes me as being unfair. So I understand that there's nothing that could be done at this time. I've raised this in the past, and obviously, I'll be back and I will continue to watch this. And I think it should be addressed as a matter of fairness and also to promote conservation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
No raised hands, virtual.
Okay. Well, then we'll close that portion and we could open it up to council comments. So we'll start with Helen since she's on Zoom. If she has any comments.
Thanks, Mayor. I just wanted to echo Mr. Flaherty said and thank Tom and the staff for coming forth with a tight budget despite all of the challenges that were laid out and unfunded mandates and all kinds of things that are happening, healthcare costs, et cetera. So thank you for all the time and work that's been put into the budget, all the department heads, and then certainly everyone understanding why, if you had asked for an increase that Tom Ferry had put in to the original budget, and then it was cut later through some negotiations, that everyone understands why that's the case. I just wanted to thank Mr. Flaherty again for being there in person. And at one point in time, we had, I think, 7 or 9 people that were also up to 9 people maybe that were participating virtually. I know we have 4 left and it's been a long night, but thank you to the public who has put in the time to just hear about the budget process and all the components. Thanks to everybody that presented tonight. And Tom, I was just looking over my notes. I think you grabbed everything in terms of takeaways, the appeals. Yeah, I think that's it. So I'm good. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Start down your end, Jake.
All right. So I had some notes coming into this, but I let it go to see what would happen to. So I think it's a very fiscally sound budget, but I think we could be a little more tax sensitive. So looking at the numbers, personnel is representing 65% of our total spending. Debt and capital costs increased 15% 1 year. Healthcare costs currently exceed $3.5 million. The surplus remains historically strong at 4.4 million. The levy growth, however, exceeds our rateable growth. So right now, our levy, including all the exceptions the exceptions, is rising 8% when the net value taxable is rose rather in the past year 3.5%. If we also look at the state aid, which is flat, in 2013 it was 8.84% of our budget. Right now it's about 6%. So the town is owning a little more of that percentage wise, as the state aid remains flat. So a couple of strategic questions I think might be worth looking into would be, our levy is increasing $815,000, but our surplus remains historically high. Understanding that the town operates with a policy guiding our surplus use, I think that there may be an opportunity here to add some temporary levy moderation by using a little more surplus. And what I would pitch is an extra $350,000. This brings us to a 10% surplus of our budget for the year. So we're at 17.6, I believe, and this would bring us to a $1.76 million surplus and would reduce the levy by about 3 tax points if my math is correct. I think this retains a stable levy increase or stable surplus rather, but it also moderates a wise decision of making the $400,000 principal payment because our debt service is also increasing over time. So I think this is a way to temporarily moderate that increase by pretty much a almost 1-to-1 exchange without a significant impact to the surplus. I also think that because personnel represents 65% of our spending, I'm not advocating for furloughed employees whatsoever. I just think that it might be worth, as a policy decision, looking at our replacements moving forward and then perhaps looking at part-time consolidation into full-time employment if there's an opportunity for cost savings there. Again, not laying anyone off, just looking at when retirements happen, when personnel leaves, is there an opportunity to consolidate positions? Because although sometimes 2 part-time employees are cheaper than a full-time employee, sometimes they're not. And since this is one of those semi-fixed costs, without kind of taking a bit of an aggressive stance, and I don't know if this would be defined as an aggressive stance, it's going to get difficult as our particularly police department starts aging, because that is going to become a more expensive figure. And not to cut police, not to cut DPW whatsoever, because that would be silly. How can we save elsewhere in our personnel costs? And if we do consolidate, there is a downstream effect in reducing, FICA expenses and healthcare costs, et cetera, et cetera. So just a thought looking forward, kind of a long-term strategic planning. If we're not making these types of decisions now, it's going to bite us down the road when we do have even more elevated personnel costs.
JP, that would be an interesting analysis to look at, because typically the other cost savings about having part-time versus full-time is the savings on the benefit side. Where if you have full-time, and obviously Jennifer would know more about this, but full-time staff, then you have the full complement of benefits both offered and available. And sometimes with part-time staff, that's not necessarily the case, or it's a reduced benefits.
Right. That's what I said. Sometimes it is cheaper, but sometimes it's not. So that's why, having some kind of analysis done, looking at the potential for cost savings, I think is worthwhile, especially if we're looking at this increasingly large healthcare expense, increasingly large personnel costs, et cetera.
And then the other thing that we would have to do is test it against market, right? Available people with the skill set, what the market is paying and the number of candidates.
Or I would say we even start with our current staff. We have however many part-time staff, somewhere, but are there part-timers who would be interested in full-time work? And if another part-timer leaves, is it worth replacing that part-timer with another part-timer, or do we convert existing part-timers into a full-time position? But you'd have to do an analysis of the entire workforce here to be able to answer that question. I'm just pitching this as a potential avenue for cost savings in the future to reduce personnel costs.
Yeah, and I don't disagree. I mean, the other thing that we'd have to get the analysis from Tom and Jennifer would be also is, assuming that full-time employees at a 40-hour work week, if you have two 25-hour part-time employees, you're essentially getting 50 hours of work. So it would have to be also compared to an FTE type of analysis.
Right. But a little more approximately, leveraging a little more surplus for this current tax year.
I don't have a problem with evaluating the workforce. I think that's a good idea that could kind of go in tow with the health insurance. Look, kind of take a big picture, overall look at all that. I would like to hear Tom Ferry's opinion on dipping into more of our surplus.
Let's hold the thought until the rest of the council speaks, Mayor. And
Sure.
I'll jump in.
Sure, sorry. All right,
Okay,
Deputy Mayor.
well, I spent a lot of time today and Friday with Tom and Jen going over this whole thing line item by line item. I thought there were a lot of areas that could be cut, but after discussing with them, we realized they couldn't. I did think about the surplus like you. And I'll let them explain why they don't think that's a good idea. But I tend to think looking at employment is a good idea. The possibility of combining some things might be a good idea. I've always been a little outspoken about a lot of the people still working from home. And so I don't know if that's an avenue that we can look at. But it's about pretty much, like I said, having spent a tremendous amount of time today with them. There's not a lot of areas that can be cut, and I understand why. I am not looking forward, because all of us here are all taxpayers. I am not looking forward to the type of increase on an average home, because my home is just below average. And I am very concerned about the impact on senior citizens. And that doesn't include the school or the county. So I do have a very big concern for my seniors. And but I don't know what we can do to actually reduce this, because of the impact that utilities have had on us, the impact that insurance has had on us, medical as well as all the other insurances. My concern is there any way that we, along with having been at the mayor's meeting and deputy mayor's meeting, we can somehow address the state, because it is the state that approves these increases for the utility companies, for the insurance companies. While they're letting them go up 18 to 30% and God knows what else on utilities, that's just medical. But yet they limit the town as to what we can do. That's very difficult. I mean, you're trying to do a 2%, 2.5%, 3%, and within caps of the different ratios, but you're looking at increases that are way beyond our control. Everything that we're looking at right now is going up, and it's not going up in small amounts. So there's got to be something that we need to do on a state level to try to control some of these costs. Somehow we have to get the representatives that are supposed to be representing us involved in order to reduce this. And like I said, there's been a lot of talk at the meeting a couple Saturdays ago Dawn was there, Dawn Fantasia, Mike was there, Parker was there, Parker Space was there. They all realize what's going on. And we do have all the issues with the Highlands and redevelop. I mean, there's just so many things going on in Sussex County alone, in Warren County, that it's troublesome. And I'm very concerned, not only for this year, but for the future years if we don't do something. And so.
Michelle?
Yeah, first of all, I'll thank Tom and the whole entire staff, Jen and everyone that's involved in putting together a budget, because I know what it takes. No, it's never easy to, lose any services that we're, accustomed to. But, it's always something, we could look into, and I'm not like, me, I try to attend everything and be at everything. But if we're not getting, the return on our investments, like movies in the park and music in the park, and I think last year we partnered with some other towns, Tom, so, maybe that will increase attendance, in the years coming. But I think we have to be mindful of that. And, also we've taken on, some events, like, and needed to, like homelessness, but it's a problem across the county, the state, et cetera. And, it would be nice if, we had some help in that area as well. And, yeah, I mean, looking at the news, school funding is going to be an issue, and as is, the county's budget as well. So I think it's going to get harder and not easier. So, but I know the town of Newton has put a lot of work into this, and so good job in that. I'll end on a positive. Thank you.
All right. And I could sit here and belabor the points that everybody else has already made about how difficult of a budget this is. But given the circumstances, I was really worried coming into this, what it was going to be. And nobody likes increases, but it could have been worse. So I'm thankful for that. I do thank Tom, the entire staff, all the professionals, everybody at Town Hall, police, DPW, everybody for putting together a solid budget, really kind of trying to look at what's important, what's the priorities. And I just appreciate all the hard work that everybody put into it. I appreciate the residents who came out. I always think it's very important that you come out and hear the budget so you have a better understanding of how the money is being spent rather than, just complaining. So if you actually come, you can kind of get a better sense of what's going on, and you'll understand things a little bit more. So I appreciate everybody who does make the effort to come. And that's all at the moment. Thank you, everyone.
All right, I'll jump in and I'll turn it over to Tom. So surplus, I knew that would be the low hanging fruit, or the only hanging fruit. Tom and I advise against drawing more into the surplus. I mean, it violates the policy, but we can change that. That's easy. Tom and I are concerned when Tom 1 and Tom 2 are no longer here in the next few years, that taking $350 out of the surplus just makes it harder for you all next year when Mayor Diglio is in the center chair. And then in the following year, we're not generating enough surplus fast enough that you're going to regenerate. And I'm not here to be doom and gloom. And obviously we follow the wishes of the council, but I guess it's just a cautionary tale of pulling another 3 tax points out of surplus. What does next year look like? I think it looks worse. And the following year, because we're not generating fast enough. I'll let Tom jump in on that. Second point, staffing. If you look at your budget, and I don't want to mention names because I didn't Rice notice them, we're talking about 3 part-time employees. And if I have Jen run the numbers, if I give her the 3 names, I'm pretty certain they don't even equal a tax point. So as much as and because I've already done the analysis, so because I had a feeling that would be part of the discussion, because it should be, right? Staffing, benefits, right? 2/3 of our budget is bodies. and we value the employees, but can we sustain the business model? And if we're not going to touch Public Works and Police, then we're looking non-union. And there's only 3 employees that would get furloughed. 2 are in 2 different departments. And like I said, I won't mention who they are. And 1 just passed away. Those are your 3 staffing. So can I work on code enforcement and fold that into another person? Possible. And I'm looking at that. And sadly, for obvious reasons. Then I'm down to 2 part-timers. Maybe half a tax point. It's not the answer. And I'm just being honest. It's not the answer until, if you don't want to address police and public works, which I'm not advocating, obviously, because it's, it's public safety. The 2 biggest departments in the town of Newton are police and public works, right? So if we're not going there, which I understand, there's just not enough fat. Most of the part-timers work at the pool. Barbara came in with a very aggressive staffing model that was very aggressive, and Jen had to rein that back because we knew the budget couldn't sustain it. So I'll let Tom speak to the surplus, but as far as staffing goes, there's only 1 position that we could fold into a full-timer, and that's code enforcement. The other 2, like I said, I don't think they would save you half a tax point, just being honest. Because I already ran the numbers on those.
Already played around with.
So, Tom, you want to speak to surplus in the end?
Yeah, as for surplus, we generated, can't say profit, we just put more, the results of operations were 2,281,000. If you're looking to use 2,550,000 and we're only generating 2,200,000 going into next year, then if you don't keep your level at 2,500,000 to use in fund balance in the next year, then you're looking to use less, which means it's just going to go up again. I always advocated over my 39 years of doing budgets, don't use any more than you generate. Because again, I always use a scenario, a savings account or the cookie jar. You take more cookies out, eventually it's going to run dry. And now you're left holding the bag of doing a huge increase. Problem with that is you got 2 caps to worry about. As I mentioned, you got a levy cap. So if we go to adjust next year's budget without using 2,550,000, now we've got a levy cap problem. So now we're going to be sitting saying, okay, well, we can't increase taxes. We have to cut something. Because again, you got the appropriations cap and the levy cap. So that's the big take on using too much fund balance. And as it is, to be honest with you, 2,281,000, and we're using 2,003,000. We have fund balance policy that says we can't use any more than we generated, and we're talking insignificant dollars. We can amend the resolution, say we can use a little more.
Yeah, or we just have to do a plan with the council for 3 years to say how we're making up the 19,000 difference. But yeah, we can amend that.
There was one thing that I did say. Okay, I looked at the expenses of the pool versus the money that it actually took in, the revenues it took in. And there's a big difference between what it's costing us and what it's bringing in.
You know why that is? We don't charge the residents. If you want me to bring that back, I'm not sure that's politically viable, but we had done that collectively, agreed upon, because the taxpayers paid for all the capital improvements, and that was the trade-off. We're already charging a significant amount of money to the non-residents. If you want me to bring back residential, I think that's something you'd have to discuss. I'm not sure that would go over well with the taxpayers. Right now, everybody has the ability to use the pool, so that's why it's in the current fund. If you want to pull it out and you want to increase fees, user fees, it's a policy decision. I'm not saying to do it or don't, but I'm not sure how that will be received. So that's the trade. The idea is everybody in this town has the ability on any given day to use the pool. And it's a great amenity that they paid for. But it's up to the five of you. If you want me to bring back the fees, we'll bring back the fees. I'm just not sure that's the right.
Settle down, just because one person mentions it doesn't.
No,
mean
no,
we
I
all-
gotta be honest, Michelle. I know it's hard to hear.
I know, but I'm
But-
just saying,
It's my job to be honest,
Opinions are-
regardless of who it comes from, that it's not saying it's good or bad, but there's pros and cons. I guess the question I need direction on so I can introduce a budget with you all on March 23rd is obviously we'll go back and we'll pencil and we'll check and recheck, and especially we have to do that overtime one on road repair, which if that's missing, we have to absorb it somewhere. Do I have three council people to introduce, or do I need to figure something different? Because we have to introduce on the 23rd and adopt April 27th. So I kind of need direction from you all.
Tom, while that's being mulled upon, can you remind me or maybe just update the council on what is being done differently? Or maybe this is a question for Terry with regards to unregistered landlords?
Oh,
Because that's a revenue opportunity.
it is a revenue and my wish list on that was
To hire more staff.
to hire more staff with that. Cause I'll be honest with you, it's very overwhelming in my office
Yeah.
to keep track of that. I mean, I do the best I can and I follow up with people and I do letters and I do phone calls. But, I don't have the manpower, to go out and enforce it. So are we losing money on that? Yeah, but right now, I don't know if we have the, we
Right.
can't hire staff to do it.
Right. Costs money to make money.
So is there a record keeping opportunity there that exists with using an intern?
In my office right now, I mean, I don't think so. We can explore that, but I don't know if you want Mariah to look into that, Dom, or,
It's not going to change the budget for introduction.
yeah.
But yeah, we can, of course.
No, and I wasn't suggesting that it would at this point, but I mean, I know we've talked about it in the past. I'm just wondering if it sounds like it's in addition to enforcement, it's also establishing a system. And I'm not sure if
If it was just
perhaps using an intern to at least look at, this is what we have, this is what we think we have, here's the difference, what kind of systems do we have to set up so we can at least establish a baseline for what exists and what needs to exist on a go forward basis. And then the enforcement piece, I think, comes after that. But I think right now we're just capturing a percentage of the properties that are currently non-owner occupied.
And if it was just registering landlords, that would be a lot easier. But I also have to keep track of their insurance and make sure they have the right amount and their lead-based paint inspections and make sure whether, so it's, they'll send me in their landlord registration, but they don't send me their insurance. So then I have to follow up with them to get that. It's very time consuming. And, even no matter what I do, I send out letters with checklists, this you gotta, they still don't. And then some people they'll email me half the stuff and then the check's the wrong amount. It's an overwhelming thing, the landlord registration at the state, one of those unfunded mandates kind of thing that the state put on us that it's a lot to keep track of. I do have a spreadsheet of everybody and their lead-based paint inspections and their insurance and their registration form and their payment and their emails and all that stuff. But, if someone doesn't send in their registration and I send up follow-up emails or make phone calls, it's a little bit more, not much more I can do at this point in my office.
All right. What are we looking at as far as consensus on the budget and whether we are willing to introduce?
So are we making a motion to introduce this?
No, I need guidance of
Guidance.
whether, as presented, we are introducing, obviously, the second point would be the fund balance, because that would be the other alternative. There's no third option on the table. So as presented, or taking 1, 2, or 3 points off the board from fund balance, I kind of need, those would be kind of the 2 points I'm hearing from the council.
I'm okay, introducing the budget as presented.
And I'll second.
Not that it's a motion,
I
but
mean, yeah, not that we're voting, but yes, I agree with your assessment, Helen. I do think it's a slippery road to take too much away from the fund balance and.
Look, I just remember the days when we were like adding nothing to fund balance, and those were difficult days with big tax increases. And I remember when Tom Ferry was the auditor just saying, we need to do something better, and we have the ability to do it. So I think Tom's quote was, don't use more than you generate. And that's why I was trying to think of the other opportunities going forward on the revenue generation, right? There's only 2 sides of the balance sheet, what comes in and what goes out. Just like anybody's household. So I think we continue to look for ways to generate more revenue. And a lot of little ways add up to big ways, as opposed to taking more of the savings than we're bringing in.
Look, the counter argument's not incorrect. Debt manipulation is just or a surplus manipulation is just a short-term resolution to the way I was viewing it, to offset the additional principal payments made this year. But your major levers, if you really want to target this, is going to be personnel restructuring, healthcare redesign, debt pacing, and revenue expansion. And unless we're able to target one of those avenues aggressively, we're in a bit of a pickle.
Right, but our pickle is smaller than everybody else's pickle. Serious, like we're taking a hit, and this is my least favorite budget in 18 years. It's a hell of a way to go out the door. But the reality is, other towns are going to be crying when they can't meet the appropriations cap and the levy cap. Like, they won't even get to this point, right? So as bad as this is, and I'm not happy with this budget. I'm not. But other towns are going to be millions and millions, right? I mean, we already have lists of towns that were.
City of Clifton's 18 million. Can't pass their budget.
You know what I mean? So yeah.
Political lens, though, I don't care about the city of Clifton.
No,
today.
I know.
I care about the town.
Right, but I don't care about the Board of Ed and the county, because I can't control those two either. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is all I care about is this. I can't control anything beyond this, but even this, it's not a pleasant experience. So yeah, then health insurance we'll look at, but I can't guarantee that's a magic bullet either, because it's 16% increase. Other towns are 36. They're going to be 50 next year. Maybe we're going to be 20. You know what I mean? So yeah, we'll look at that. But, and we're always looking at revenue, shared services. We're trying to be creative, but there's no rabbit in the hat on this one. There's not. So the pickle, yeah, but it's like you got to take the hit this year to think about next year and the year after, so that we don't lose the sustainability after, all these years of fighting to do all the things we've done. It could unravel pretty quickly. I'm not saying don't use more surplus. I'm just saying, just understand 3 to 5 years. What does that look like? And I'm still working on one of our pilots that I still don't even have an escrow for. So, I'm still trying to get that one moving along too.
No, and Tom, that's a good point. And part of, I think, what I was trying to say and didn't say so well is that, you guys work on the budget for 6 months. We have the budget hearings, we go through this discussion, this exercise, we do our homework and our due diligence. And then, we move through tonight, we introduce and we pass the budget. And then after that, as a council, we move on to other priorities or other things. You guys are working under the budget. I think as a council, we should keep our eye on the potential other solutions that could bring in other revenues. And, we've talked about the pilots, the shared services, the grant opportunities, the others, but I feel like, some of the little things that we talk about, and then we don't talk about it again until the next budget season, we can continue to maybe work on throughout the year so that a year from now, we're seeing a little bit of progress or movement in some of those smaller revenue areas that could add up. And so we're not having the same discussion a year from now.
I did look into the debt service and I remembered that one of our bonds is the last payment is in 26. It's 224,000, which we're not going to have in 27. So that's going to be half of debt service, like half of the number.
And Tom, we've asked this before, and I would imagine you would bring it up if it was an opportunity, but we've looked at other either consolidations or state programs or federal programs for us to potentially look at lower interest rates. I'm assuming that there aren't any out there, especially in this current environment.
No, we refunded pretty much all our debt, pretty much, for now. I mean, we always have H2O loans. I mean, they just bought $1.7 million worth of equipment. That was all principal forgived. Maybe we'd have to talk to Suburban and see if maybe some of these other projects are possible. That's in general capital. They were pretty much using as much water and sewer principal forgiveness as we can. They're also got a technical assistance grant for some of the engineering costs for planning and design, another $2 million. The amount of money that Suburban is yanking in is astronomical. And we just keep submitting to them and getting reimbursed through grants.
Well, I mean, that's great, right? Because we have to do the plan improvements and we have to do those. Imagine if we weren't having the principal forgiveness loans on those.
Suppose we can stick with the baby gherkin for now.
First thing that came to my mind.
But Sandy and Matt, you guys okay with the introduction? And obviously, we're gonna still look, tweak, you know what I mean? And presumably there'll be some other things to chew on about staffing.
And we have to have our auditor also check it. He hasn't even seen it.
Obviously, without cannibalizing surplus, if we can nickel and dime a few areas, even if it's half a point or point, we'll do it. Obviously, you know that, so.
Yeah, no, I think we just move forward with it, yeah.
Thank you for all of your time.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else have any more comments? All right, then, motion to adjourn at 8:43.
I will make a motion to adjourn at 8:43.
Second the motion.
Motion from Councilman Teets and a second from Deputy Mayor Diglio. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.